All right, guys, it's time for our up with the one and the only Mr. Patrick Laird. He is in attendance. Davis Maddock, Peter Overzet, and Pat here with us. A brand new man coming to us with a wedding ring on his finger. We are now 3 married men. Actually, Pat, we have all now known each other and been doing this long enough that when we started, you and I were not married. Peter did not have a child. Now we are all married men. Peter has a child. It's just a beautiful evolution of all of our lives together. I'm appreciating that poetry right now.
I feel like we're all growing up together a little bit.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Although, Davis and I are still low-level fantasy football content creators, and you still play NFL football. So some things never change.
Somehow.
Some things never change.
I don't know what's crazier, me playing or going into my 6th year in the NFL, or you guys still being employed talking about fantasy football.
It is crazy. It is crazy. I mean, and that was the other thing that was so mind-blowing to me too, of how long you've been in the NFL, that when we all met, like, you were a rookie. That was your rookie year that season when you burst onto to our radar, which is crazy. You are now like you are a grizzled veteran by NFL standards.
Yeah, part of me still feels young, but yeah, when I talk to the younger guys, then I realize there's this age gap. I forget if I mentioned this before, but like the way I judge the difference between millennials, because like I'm on the cusp of the end of the millennial generation and then the Gen Zers. I ask guys, when you asked a girl for your when you first started talking to girls, like whether it was like late elementary or middle school, did you
number or Snapchat?
Number or Snapchat, and it's amazing when you start talking to Gen Z. They're like, "Oh yeah, I just got their Snapchat."
When Davis and I ask our peers that, they say, "Ask a girl for her number." Just the entire premise kind of throws them for a loop.
Yeah, I was just at the transition from like 5th, 6th grade, like half the class, maybe a quarter of the class started to get cell phones. So like the first like numbers I had to call were like of my friends or, girls or whatever. It was like you had to call their home phone and talk to one of the parents and say, "Hey, may I speak to blah, blah, blah." And then, had to be all nice and polite. And I don't even know what we were talking on the phone about, but you just wanted to like talk about something.
Wanted to talk. You just wanted to talk. Yeah.
That was my issue. My earliest bag fumble, I must have been in 6th or 7th grade. Girl calls my house. My mom says, "Hey, Pete, someone called you," or she's like Bethany or whatever. And literally the first thing I said was, "What do you want?" Because like I couldn't fathom just talking. And my mom was like, "What are you doing?" She just wants to call to check in, see how you. And my 6th grade brain could not wrap my head around that concept. It was like, no, you call for a purpose.
I didn't even have a cell phone, I think, until I was 14. I don't think, and obviously not a smartphone. I had like a.
Well, this was calling my house,
Razor,
my parents' house. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, but I mean, I just even remember being like I'm old enough to remember the transition from most people not even having cell phones, like being a kid. I think I smoked weed before I ever had a cell phone. I think that timeline lines up, which is
not the case for me.
Yeah, it's different for kids these days. They do both of those things very young these days.
But there's no way that kids don't have cell phones before they smoke weed for the first time. I feel like that percentage is very low. That even occurs.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. I was at the park with April yesterday, the playground, and there were kids who had climbed up to this like big jungle gym thing. I don't know. They were probably like 10 or 11, and they were on their cell phones at the top of the thing. And it was like, man, like it is tough to swallow.
10 or 11 doesn't even feel shocking. Like I thought you were about to be like, there was a 6-year-old like going live on Instagram. And I would be like, yeah, I don't know. I guess probably.
I guess my ability to tell the difference between a 6 and 10-year-old, it might not even be that great
either. It's impossible.
Yeah. So yeah, how was the wedding, Laird? It's been about a month? You got married, did a honeymoon, and now kind of getting settled.
Yeah, so married April 13th, and then we took off for a honeymoon on the 15th. So I had that like Sunday kind of buffer to debrief and just like, I mean, we pretty much accomplished nothing that day. I think we had planned to clean and pack, and I think when we woke up, we had brunch with some like friends and family. And when we got back to our house, it was like afternoon, and we're like, let's just sit on the couch for a little bit. And then a few hours later, we're like, yeah, we're not gonna, because we were planning to drive up to LA because we flew out of LAX. We're like, nah, we're not gonna leave tonight. Like, let's just relax, kind of just take the night. And then we did a little bit of packing, a little cleaning, and then in the morning we woke up early, finished packing, finished cleaning, and then got on the road. Flew out of LA directly to Paris. 3 nights in Paris, took the train. Big fan of bullet trains now. I wish California had figured it out.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just so comfortable and convenient. It's just much easier than flying by plane. And then 3 nights in Bordeaux. We're actually just outside the city, but got to spend like a day in the city walking around. And then did one flight during the whole trip in Europe. So flew from Bordeaux to Nice, spent 3 nights there. Took trains up and around the coast down into Tuscany, or like Pisa was technically the stop. And then we got kind of taken into inland Italy. Spent 2 nights in Tuscany, and then took a train 2 nights in Rome, and then flew out of Rome directly back to LA. So we were like, if we're going to have these long trips on the front end and back end, we wanted to make it direct flights. And so flying, LA to Paris, Rome to LA was like, ended up being ideal. Clutch. Yeah. It's they're going to be long travel days regardless, just because you're on a plane for like 10 hours. The way back was actually 12 hours and 45 minutes. But at least you don't have to do a layover and get out of the plane and then go back on another plane and spend hour at an airport. So overall the trip was amazing. Got to see some, we went to the Louvre, toured that, saw the Mona Lisa. Went to the Modern Art Museum in Paris as well. Saw some Picassos, which was cool. Nice was just like, we were kind of blown away by just the geography. It was just like, just all these amazing. That was, I didn't know. I mean, there are a lot of beaches in southern France, which is cool. So we wanted to definitely go back when it's warmer. We got one afternoon where it was warm enough we could sit on the beach, and we had lunch. It was just awesome. Rome was like the history and seeing the
I was going to say, are you a history guy or not?
No, I don't want to call myself a history guy because I might be overselling it. I'm definitely interested in learning about history, but like my interests kind of go back to like pretty much like the turn of the century, like the 20th century, kind of like early 1900s, just because like I feel like you can relate it all to what's happening now, whereas for me it's like hard to learn about.
People say we're still fighting World War I, Pat. They say that.
I mean, there's like,
they do say it,
but there's like things that happened in that era, right? Like Woodrow Wilson, right? He tried to like start the League of Nations, and that was kind of like the precursor for eventually the UN after World War II. So like and then the UN's still around today. So it's like you can kind of like, and I hope I got those facts right, but like you can kind of get a through line to like today. But like once you go back to like ancient Rome, it's interesting to learn about, and I did enjoy learning about it, but it's really hard for me to like
you can see the through lines of ancient Rome till today too, because we live in such our whole morality, even if you're not a Christian, our whole morality is based off of Christianity, which is linked to the Roman Empire. And when they say Western society, what they mean is people from Rome, where they ended up, right? If you really go through the list, America from Britain, how'd people get to Britain? They came from Rome, yada yada. That's my Roman Empire.
When you're doing a honeymoon, it's a lot easier to say, let's go to Burgundy, France and drink wine than go to Normandy and sit with the heaviness of the implications of that location.
Correct. Did you drink a lot of red wine? Are you a red wine?
Great reference. I want to give credit to Pete for the great reference and great play on words there. That was awesome. That was next level stuff. In Bordeaux, the whole trip we drank just wine, basically. Like I might have had a couple cocktails, but it's just like in Bordeaux, we went to a hotel that was right next to a chateau where they made the wine. We're looking at the vines that they harvested from. So it's like, you gotta just try the wine. So that's pretty much what we drank, and I just became a big fan. So like, because I'm from California, where
Right.
a lot of good wine is produced. Even where I grew up, Paso Robles, Edna Valley. These are like, they produce a lot of really good wine. That's kind of like on par with Napa in terms of like California product. I mean, maybe not in terms of volume, but just quality. It's up there. But in California, like people they like to make just like wine varietal. So like a good Cabernet or whatever, like or Sauvignon Blanc. Whereas in Bordeaux, everything's a blend. So they take the grapes from, they mix and match different grapes and batches and stuff. And I know in California they do that as well. So like when you eat or when you drink like a Zinfandel, it's not 100% Zinfandel, but it's like, has some other stuff mixed, but it's like over 80%. Whereas Bordeaux, they blend it all, which I thought it just makes, in my opinion, just makes it smoother and easier to drink. So yeah, a lot of wine that we were trying out there.
That's great. What was the best meal you had?
Oh, the place we stayed in Bordeaux had a 2 Michelin star restaurant in the hotel.
Oh,
so like when I found that out, I was like, all right, we got to do a reservation. So they were booked out for dinner. Star? They didn't have the what?
The 3rd star.
I don't even know the range. I just saw 2 Michelin. I saw a Michelin star, and I was like, I gotta try this place.
You guys ever think about how fucked up it is that the tire place is the people that tell you how good restaurants are, and you might think in your head, oh, these got to be 2 different things.Ey're not. It's the same entity.
Yeah.
It's the same company. The big pillow tire man is the guy who's telling you where to go eat. I mean, are you not? I guess that's off season for you, so you can eat whatever, like not whatever you want, but you don't have to be tracking your macros that hard in the off season.
Well, I thought I was going to be gaining weight on this trip just because every time you sit down, it's like it's a event. Like they bring out that you order a drink and there's appetizers that come with the drink.
Yeah, and
then like you sit there and like. One thing you got to like wave down the waiter or waitress like to get their attention because they don't always like. It's just I don't know. It's just a different culture. You got to ask for the check. I learned that American, like 7. Yeah. It's not like American like eating where like they're recording how long people are sitting at tables and how fast the waitress can get the person out of. They're trying to just move tables along. It's like it almost felt like rude if you asked for the check too early and like wanted to get out of there. Like there's no to go. Eating. I mean, I'm speaking in the generalizations, but like it just seemed like we couldn't find any food to go. You had to like sit down and order. But that Michelin star restaurant, we sat down at 1 p.m. was our reservation, and we didn't get up till 4:30. So we were just sitting there, and it like the way they did it was like you went on a journey. So it was like you could choose a 5-course journey or a 7-course journey.
Sounds like the chef was doing bits, Peter.
We're on the honeymoon, sir. It's going to be the full 7 course.
So we actually did because we were like, all right, we're going to go to dinner later. So let's do what we thought was going to be a smaller lunch. We did the 5-stop journey, and I swear they brought out 9 different plates of things because there was like stops on the journey before the journey even started. Yeah. And then there was desserts that they brought out, multiple desserts, and like it was amazing. I thought I was going to gain weight, but then we averaged like 18,000 steps a day.
So you walked everywhere.
And then Bryce and I, what we did is on each city, our first full day in that city or place, we would go on a run in the morning just to kind of get our bearings. And so that was a good way to like stay active. But like on those days, our steps were like, I think our biggest amount of steps in a day was like 29,000. I was like, I should have just done like 500 more because it was like 29 and a half.
Yeah.
I should have done like 500 more steps. You got to just
get up and walk around the lobby at that point.
I know I should have, but like by the end of the day, I was just so tired. I was like, all right, we're going to go to bed.
It's so true. Like,
it's pretty good.
I feel like the European, lifestyle can get like over romanticized, but the same thing happened to me when I studied abroad in Spain, where you're like eating all this pasta and bread and whatever, but drinking beer, but I was walking so much, like just unfathomable amounts of miles. And it like all is a wash. And it's why all the French people walk around eating baguettes all day and are all spelt is all get out because they just get their steps in.
Yeah. My one gripe was I couldn't get coffee at the hotels till like 7:30 a.m.
Oh no.
I mean, I could. So what I would do is I'd go. I felt bad doing this, but like breakfast didn't start till 7:30. So, but I was like, I would be up by like at least 6:37. And so I'm just like if I want to go on a walk or go start, working out, whatever, I was like, I need a coffee before.
This is where Davis is about to hit you with a Huberman stat about how actually
I'm
waiting an hour plus not to have your coffee.
I'm not, because no, because if you get up to train, it totally negates the other. Like if you're getting up to train, you should hit caffeine immediately.
Okay, that's good to hear. So I'd go into the breakfast and I'd be in there at like 7 a.m. and they're not open for 30 minutes. And they'd look at me like I was crazy asking for coffee early. But I get I don't want to be a bad guest at their hotel, but I was like, just real quick, just like an espresso with some hot water. I'll get an Americano and I'll get out of here.
And they're all bumbling to themselves, these asshole Americans.
Yeah.
Big time.
And then Bryce and I would show up like right at 7:30, kind of like when breakfast was opening, and we'd be like the only ones in there. So the day doesn't get started until late there. But I mean, I guess that's just the culture. But then people stay up late, and then we would be the ones going to dinner early and then going to bed early. So kind of nice. You got to avoid crowds if you're like if you're an early to rise American, go to Europe. You'll be the only one at breakfast at 7, the only one at dinner at 5:30. It's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
And the wedding was a blast. I mean, the pictures, everything looks incredible. I've still been like digging around through my mailbox to see if I could find the invitation, but I wasn't able to find it.
The amount of people that we couldn't invite to this was crazy. Like there was just people in my life that I'm like, oh, I would for sure invite them. So it was so hard.
Well, you have to have like a crazy amount of connections because you have your high school football, and I'm sure you had a lot of parents and friends and everything, and then Cal guys, right, and your coach and your trainers and your teammates, and then your Dolphins friends and Jason Sanders, and then you go to the Buccaneers, and you have that right there with like significant others is like probably like already like 300 people you wanted to invite through there.
Yeah, there were so many people, and we basically what we had to do was narrow it down for Bryce and I. Like, all right, who are couples and like our friends that we've spent the most time with together. So there might be someone I was really close with, or she was really close with, but I've never met them, and she never met my friend. Yeah. So it was like, if Bryce and I had been together for 7 years and Bryce hasn't met them yet, it's like, how close are we really?
Really?
So Peter could have got the invite just because he had that night out we went to dinner.
That would have been the best bit, to invite me, but not David.
And not David.
I would have never. I would have never spoken to either of you ever again. That would have been it. That would have been it.
Well, I guess I could have invited Peter, and then Davis could have been the +1. That would have.
that would have been. Well, it's funny. It's funny that Davis said he would have never spoke to me again because, Patrick, are you aware that Davis is trying to replace you? He has a new, younger version of Patrick Laird, Dylan Laube,
the
University of New Hampshire prospect.
They're very different people.
I think I saw Davis tweet about him. I think, yeah.
So
Davis, tell him about you trying to replace him.
Look, let's just see what it is. There's another scrappy pass catching running back who was down to do a media opportunity. Although he's Gen Z. Dylan Laube is as Gen Z as it gets. He is extremely online, and he became in a very similar way to you a cult favorite of like 800 fantasy football virgins online. And I just reached out to him and I was like, "Do you want to do a podcast?" And he was like, "Absolutely, I'm in." But you are very California, very, very laid back. Very, I would say for a athlete, you're very erudite. Dylan is like,
what Davis is saying is you're a woke liberal, is what he's
trying. I'm not saying that, but Dylan was like, he came on and he's like, "Dude, I just fucking love to lift weights, bro. I love to like." He's from Long Island, so he's just like, "Yeah, dude, I love to." I like he just is like kind of like a wild guy, but. What Peter is alluding to is that I told him I considered asking him to do the podcast with Dylan when I did it. I really did think about it. And then probably half an hour before, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything to Peter. I'm just going to do it. I'm keeping this one for myself.
Wow. Were you mad about that, Peter?
No, I just think it speaks a lot about Davis's character to mine because Patrick, you probably don't even remember this, but when you invited us to that game when you were in New York and we came to meet, Davis almost didn't come. Like when we talked
really
about
didn't want to
twisting
come.
the arm, I was like going to his bosses and being like, make sure can Davis get off from work. I was doing everything because I said to Davis, you will have FOMO for a lifetime if I go up there and you don't come with me. And then I just didn't really get to see that favor returned by Davis recently.
Ooh.
It's true. Wait, do the Buccaneers and the Raiders play each other this year? This is very important because if the Buccaneers and the Raiders play each other, we got to do the Patrick Laird, Dylan Laube jersey swap. I mean, you want to talk about a photo that would absolutely break the internet for roughly 1,400 to 1,500 people on Twitter. That would definitely do it.
I can't remember. Did we play the AFC West?
Buccaneers.
Well, we're gonna get the official schedule on Thursday.
We have the opponents though. Yeah. We play the Raiders at home.
Wow. I think we should,
Let's
Peter. We should try and go. You and I should.
Content road trip. Let's do it.
I think we should try and go. I think it would be incredible.
Laird, are you
I got
familiar with
two tickets for you guys?
Perfect. Are you familiar with any of the incoming rookies? Obviously, Bucky Irving, the new guy in the Bucs backfield, but how in touch were you with the incoming draft class?
I just met Bucky today, so I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but rookie minicamp started today in Tampa. I think some other
it'll come out later today.
Okay, some other teams might have already started like a week ago. Maybe the new head coach teams.
They did.
But, our rookie minicamp starts today. I just met Bucky. Seems like a really nice kid, but spoke to him for just a few minutes. He went to college with a special guest that might pop into the podcast.
Yeah, where's
might pop into the podcast. I'm in his apartment right now. I'm his roommate, I'm his roommate and house cleaner.
You're couch surfing right now?
I'm couch surfing.
Spent too much money on Burgundy wine?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. gotta tighten down until training camp.
Wait, so have you met Jalen McMillan? That's another favorite. 3rd round rookie wide receiver for Tampa Bay.
Is that the one from Washington?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I have not met him yet. I literally I've only met 2 rookies maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, and Bucky was one of them. And we were like, Ko and I went in there. Oh, I dropped his name. Ko and I went in to work out.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. Workout today, and Bucky started at Minnesota and then transferred to Oregon.
I didn't even know that.
And so he did, I think, just 1 or 2 years at Minnesota. So Ko was just catching up with him, and I met him. But they're in the thick of things. Like rookie minicamp is just like a stressful 3 days of your life. And so I wasn't trying to take up too much of his time.
You guys have a new offensive coordinator. Your Mr. Canales moved on. What is it like when you return to the same team and a lot of the coaching staff is the same, but the OC is new? What is that like?
I think it depends because I've definitely gone through this a couple of times. But in terms of the transition in this system, I think one of I don't know all the back end stuff that went on, but I think one of the things that our head coach, our GM liked, because like part of their offseason plan was, hey, let's get Baker back, let's re-sign Baker, and then let's put him in a system that's gonna work well like it did for him last year. And so Liam Cohen's the new offensive coordinator. He actually worked with Baker in Baker's limited time in LA, and Baker had a couple really good games and learned the playbook in 2 days. And there's just a lot of similar terminology to what we ran last year. I wouldn't say it's the same offense, but I'd say the terminology, there's some crossover. And so I think the guys have, I missed phase 1 because of the honeymoon. So I kind of came in at the start of phase 2, and I was able to show up to the first jog through practice, and I knew every single play. Not that the plays were the same. I reviewed it and did the install with the guys in meetings, but it's not like I went out into practice and had no idea what the words meant. I had a good grasp. I was able to run all the plays.
Is Canales and because Cohen is I guess he would be a McVay guy, which is a Shanahan guy. Is it not the same verbiage? Is Canales, was he different? I guess he was.
I don't know what the crossover was between like who they worked for, but their system and the terminology is very similar. I mean, honestly, like the NFL reuses like a lot of like the same words, no matter what offense you're in.
Omaha, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
wrong. I'm wrong. Anyways, Canales is he is a much different. He was with Seattle for about 1,600 years, so it's very different.
But they do. I think there was some McVay crossover. At some point in Seattle, they ran some sort of thing that like had that like a lot of like that mid zone, outside zone with like the
when Daryl Bevel was the offensive coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah, I should know that better, but yeah. So like honestly, I mean, Liam Cohen's been amazing so far. Like he seems like he has a really good grasp on everything. What I like to see in an OC is just like someone that knows the pass game, the run game, what everybody, you know, because like there's some people that were just like wide receiver coaches for a long time, and then they maybe become a QB coach for like a couple years, and then they get their OC opportunity, and they never spent time in the O-line or tight end room. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like he has a grasp on everything in the run game, everything in the pass game, everything that the quarterback has to look at. So, like, I don't know. I really like seeing that in the OC, and so yeah, we're so early in the off season. We haven't even gone against a defense or anything, but it seems like it's going to be a great offense for Baker to just kind of like do his thing.
What was it like? Because at the end of last season, there were a few times where like you were kind of getting jerked up and down from like the active squad or from the practice squad to the active squad. Were you close to being a game day active any of those later weeks?
I think so. They elevated me for the 2 playoff games.
Yeah.
Which was that was really cool that they did that, and I think that was more of just a reward's a weird word, but just like, you know, kind of like acknowledging kind of like my commitment and how I helped the running backs and the offense prepare. Because they elevated me because they didn't need to elevate any. They happened to not have to elevate guys from the practice squad to the active for the playoff. So you can elevate a guy and then make him a game time decision whether he plays or not, but he still gets that game check, that bonus. Whereas like if you're just on the practice squad, you just get the weekly stipend, whatever it is. It's different whether you're a first or second year player, and then like if you're a veteran, but you just get that. And you like even in the playoffs, you don't get the playoff bonus. You just get your weekly stipend that's paid. So that was very cool. So I think a decision from the coaches and the personnel staff to say, hey, let's elevate this guy for the 2 playoff games and kind of give him the bonus. And it was like a thank you for the work.
Speaking of the playoff games, how about beating the Philadelphia Eagles 32-9? I mean, that had to have been in your NFL career about as cool of like, at least in terms of the locker room, like that had to have been pretty cool.
That was super fun because it was. I mean, you guys saw like, and our GM Jason Light's kind of been vocal on this. Like, people just wrote us off at the beginning of the season, and I think a lot of guys were like our team's not that bad. Like, why do people like? I think just like
we're not that bad.
Like, I mean, Baker played really well last year, and so that helped get us, you know, more wins than people anticipated. But like, even if we signed some like even if we had a bad quarterback last year, let's say that.
Damn, we were about to get Laird had a bad quarterback in his head, and he was like, "I'm not going to say that because that's mean."
Well, I was gonna say some generic thing, but like there is no real bad quarterback out there. Like, you know, just someone that didn't play well, whatever it is. We cycled through 3 different quarterbacks. Like our defense would have won us games by themselves. Like it was ridiculous that people were predicting 2 to 4 wins just because Tom left the team. It's like, yeah, we still had a really good defense. We still had Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Tristan Wirfs. Like, it didn't make sense. And so when we won the first playoff game, it was kind of like a validation, like, all right, like, hey, you know, we're a solid team. And then I think we had we had a lot of confidence that we could go in and beat the Lions, but just that night, dude, the Lions were just rolling. Like, they couldn't make a mistake.
Yeah.
Jared was playing really well. Their defense was really solid. Like, that game wasn't like we didn't lose. Obviously, we lost, but like we didn't like kill ourselves. It was just
Baker played his ass off in that game.
Yeah, we played a competitive game. They just happened to play better that night. But I think we went into that game fully expecting to win, have the confidence that we could win, go to the NFC Championship. Like, that was like, and I think everybody thought that and believed it. It's just, the Lions just played better that night. But yeah, I just think there was just this thought like on our team, like, hey, we're better than people think. We go out, we win the division. We go out, we win a playoff game. It wasn't a fluke win. I mean, our division wasn't the best last year, but like, it's still hard to go beat those guys. So yeah, that was very fun. I mean, obviously I didn't get to suit up and play, but just to get elevated, be on the sideline, talking to Rashad, talking to Chase, just kind of like being a part of the game, like helping them with the game plan. Like that's fun for me to do. And that's kind of like why I wanted to come back and give it another shot, playing another year of professional football. Cause like, I want to play on Sundays, but I still had a lot of fun at the end of last season. What I felt like helped the team go to the playoffs in my little small role.
Are you thinking whenever football is done for you that you want to coach, or do you want to do something else?
I like playing a lot. So like, yeah. It's hard for me to imagine myself coaching, but I love playing football. I love being a part of the team. It's hard for me to envision having that same amount of love for coaching as I do for playing. So I think that's why I don't think I would do it.
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, Bryce and I are enjoying our life that we're starting in Southern California.
Yeah.
And
you definitely do not get to do that if you're a coach. You are totally at the mercy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're at the mercy of whoever wants to hire you. The Chargers moved out of San Diego, so that's not even an option. So yeah, we're enjoying San Diego County.
I mean, I'm sure too, like, obviously you want to play like that. That's without a given, but there at least like a very small silver lining has to be like your body not getting beaten down, right? Like you probably have to feel so good having not been just taking a beating these past couple of years.
Yeah, it's been great. The last 2 years I've started the off season. I've worked out the day after the season was over just because my body felt great.
Yeah.
And I would fly home, go to California, start training right away. Whereas my first 3 years in Miami, like you had to take a break. Like you have to let your body recover just because the pounding, all the big hits come on Sundays. So yeah, it sucks not playing. But I mean, I'm technically I'm going to turn 29 this season. So I'm getting kind of old for a running. I'm getting kind of old for a running back, but like I technically only have 3 playing years. So it's like, might as well count me as like a 4th year guy.
That's right.
I still got the fresh legs. So yeah, that's definitely been the silver lining. The way I'm trying to look at it is like, all right, like, yeah, I didn't get to play. I have less experience than some of these other dudes, but they're starting the off season recovering. I'm starting the off season training.
Less experience is kind of like a positive in a way of being like, the team knows you're coming in fresh. Like, no, like you don't have a nagging knee injury. You don't have a shoulder that clicks. Like, you're ready to rock. Yeah.
But then you got to but honestly, by August, everybody's pretty fresh and, well trained. Sure. So it's kind of about maintaining that, build on the training you've done in the past. And then going out on the practice field and improving it. So yeah,
how much training will you do on your own right now versus like with the team? Like, will you do a strength training program with the team, or is that like on your own?
It's I do with the strength training that the coaches or like the team does. We have a really good strength staff. So I do their whole program. I think, probably 80 or 90% of the guys are here doing it as well. When I'm back in California, I do my own thing. I have a trainer out there that trains me a couple times a week. But when I'm out here, this strength staff's like top of the line. So it's like, why would I do anything differently? Of course, I'll do, like some extra little things on the side, but in terms like the meat and potatoes of training, they handle most of it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I think I've asked you this before, but do they offer like a nutritionist? Like if you wanted someone to make you a nutrition program, will they do that for you?
Oh yeah, there's a full-time nutrition staff.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them that work in the nutrition staff.
So
And
you're
they're
But
just
to like
going-
what? To like you
going
could be
in
like,
and getting
hey,
your
I want
egg
salmon
whites.
and asparagus for dinner tonight. Can you like pack me something to go? Like that? Or
You can, I believe if you wanted to, you could set that up with them, because there's a full-time kitchen staff that makes food every day for everybody. I think for the guys that are on either the weight gain program or the weight loss program, they're much more involved with those people, much more involved with like crafting the right meal. But for someone that like doesn't really like for me, I stay within like a 5-pound window.
yeah.
So I'm not doing big fluctuations. I'm not really trying to get huge, and I'm not trying to lose a ton of weight. They're there just to support you. If you have questions, hey, is this supplement legit? Should I worry about these foods and all that? They're kind of there to like bounce ideas, stuff like the guys that Davis follows on Instagram. You can ask them, these people that actually have like gone to school, you can ask them questions to verify it.
Oh man. Well, it's also
do you know? Hold on. Do you know that Huberman has like basically disgraced himself? Have you been following this?
I was literally just going to ask you, like, are you still looking up to that guy?
I definitely like. So it's not even so much the actual scandal that has caused me to stop writing for him, because at the end of the day, someone can be like personally not a great person and still be good in their job or whatever. Like,
Right.
I don't know if I care that much about that. But a lot of what has soured me on that is the first one being like it becomes pretty clear that he is aligned with Athletic Greens, which is like basically a scam. He's like he is pretty involved with them, and Athletic Greens is just like the most expensive multivitamin in the world, and it's like not really that impactful. And a lot of his show is like single study extrapolation. Like one of his interns will find like one study and then he'll be like, awesome, we're doing 3 hours on this. And it just leads to a real overconfidence in something that has not really been studied. I still listen to his show when it's like he has one today this week that was about metabolic health, because someone had a new book come out about it, and like that's interesting to me. But like he's been big on the fertility and the emotional health and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not. That I'll leave to someone else. Someone else can deal with that. But yes, much less of a Huberman, bro.
I think it was funny, like maybe like one of the last 2 podcasts we did, you mentioned that you thought he could run for president and win. And I thought you were crazy for saying that, but after all the personal stuff has come out, you might have been early on that trade. He might be perfect to run for president.
My working conspiracy theory is he's about 2 more getting bullied on the internet for having a bad opinion away from just going full that way of just deciding like, I actually am going to be the villain. I'm going full, because he doesn't really do anything political right now. Like he hosts a science-based podcast for 5 years and has never done an episode about vaccines, that not pro or anti, just he doesn't want to do anything political. And I wonder if that shift might be coming if he becomes more of a lightning rod figure.
So I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about this like the last couple years, like following someone online that has associations with things that are totally like antithetical to either your personal beliefs or what you think is right or wrong, to emphasize something like that. And I'm a comment reader. I think I mentioned this on the past. You can get some good information in the comments, but you can also waste a lot of time. And it was on one of his posts where some person commented something like, "Oh, hey, great video, whatever. I learned a lot." And then Huberman responded saying, "Love the work you're doing. You've been very brave." Something along the lines of that. I don't want to you're very brave with what you're putting out. And I click on this guy's page, and he's like this dude that like, he like talks in his. I wish I knew who I was talking about. I'm gonna speak in very vague terms because I'm gonna like probably butcher it. But he's like one of those people that was like, they don't want you to know this about the government.
Yep.
They are all
There it
working
is.
behind the scene,
Yep.
and they use the they, and then you try to go,
yep.
who's they? Who is
That
they? You're talking about? Oh, you saw meetings where people are behind the scenes deciding
that
what is going.
Yeah, that undercurrent is very present for me in like the last like 2 years of Huberman stuff. Is he won't say it out loud, but he'll hint at it. He'll hint at it that there are things that they don't want you to know, or that they want you So it's definitely there.
And we definitely need like a healthy amount of skepticism. Like,
of course,
challenge experts. Institutions aren't always right, but on the flip side is like we can't just anytime an expert says something about health or epidemiology or
who paid you to say that.
Anything. We can't just go, oh, he's an expert. He's being paid by. We can't trust anything. I'm going to listen to the guy on the pod. I'm going to listen to the rando on the internet or the podcast that told me how I should think about this. It's like, experts are wrong sometimes, but I don't know. There's like you have a healthy amount of skepticism, and I don't think everybody's always choosing the healthy side of skepticism. They're choosing the let me just disagree. What's the word? Be a contrarian. Right, like there's people online that make
that becomes a personality trait.
Yeah.
I think one other thing that is super problematic about these guys, and specifically the ones that are using science and research, medical research to back their content, they are then getting paid from supplement providers where the actual science on the benefits of those supplements is a lot shakier as far as what that actually does. Do you need this? But that's their cash cow. And so it's this weird thing. People implicitly trust them because their core content is medically backed, peer reviewed, yada, yada. And yet what they're shilling isn't.
But it helps you, right? So like this is what I think a lot of what Huberman has ran into is I think a lot of people had my experience, which was he kind of just got you to a place where you wanted to like take care of yourself, right? So you want to get sunlight, you want to get good sleep, you want to be hydrated, you want to lift weights, and like you kind of attribute that to this person. Andrew Huberman was not awake with me in the gym, but like the two things were definitely related. And some people don't retain that healthy sense of skepticism. So they're like, yeah, whatever this guy says has got to be accurate, or maybe they don't even believe that, but they see everyone making fun of him or see him commenting on these people's videos about they want you X, Y, and Z. And they're like, well, Andrew Huberman did this for me, so he can't possibly be wrong. And it's, I mean, you can't deify a human being because it's like, everyone's got their flaws. Everyone's going to grift now.
Yeah. 100%.
Any other things you're looking forward to in particular this season, or is it just the entire process, getting prepared, working out, getting with the team, all of that?
I think of a non-boring.
You probably haven't golfed in a while.
I haven't golfed as much as I wanted to this offseason. I probably golfed 4 or 5 times. I'm still the exact same. Still waiting on you guys to follow through on the golf trip to Florida.
I think we just figured it out. We can. Do you have? I mean, can you play during? Like, probably not. You can't play during the week during the season.
If I'm playing that Sunday, I won't go out on Saturday and play. Maybe we get like 9 in on a Friday afternoon. But if I'm playing,
buddy, I'm there.
I'm probably not gonna want to play that weekend. Yeah, it would just depend. If you guys came and stayed through Monday, then Monday would be easier to pull off. But I'm sure you guys have to get back to family and family.
No, dude, I'll stay for like a week, buddy. Don't open that.
You
don't open that in.
You're a homebody, Davis. You're not doing.
Well, I think if we go to Florida, I might be able to get my wife to come. Like I think we could make like a whole trip out of it.
Yeah, if it's Tampa in November, December, like come down and stay for a week. You're gonna love it. The weather's incredible.
Yeah.
I'll be used to it, so I'm definitely down to go golf in September and October. But it might be a little tough for you guys to last. But Definitely no. I mean, the invite's there, but I can't promise I'll get around in with you if I'm playing that day, that Sunday. But if I'm not playing, I'm definitely down to go out and play. And then I would, depending on if I'm on the sideline or not, I would definitely get you guys tickets, but I could even sit in the stands with you guys, possibly.
All right.
Well,
but we'll figure that out in September. Yeah. That'd be super fun. But in terms of looking forward to this season, I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to work hard and get back on the field. I think one of the things I've tried to do the last couple of seasons is like, there's what's that concept? It's like find your you guys are gonna recognize it's the hedgehog concept. You find something you're good at, something what you enjoy, and then what you're the best at the world at, like what no one can no one can beat you at. Are there like things that
every once in a while StreamYard will do this where someone will get I'm never able to trigger it. It's always our friend David who gets the trigger of the screen. But yes.
I've never heard this concept. What you enjoy. Yeah.
I've never heard this concept before, the hedgehog thing.
I think that's what it's called. Anyways, so for me, it was like, all right, like I'm on the practice squad right now. So like it's a ridiculous goal to go, I'm going to be the best running back in the NFL. Like that's why would I make that my goal if it's like just not within the realm of possibility, unless, 46 dudes got hurt. So like, what can I be the best at? It's like, all right, I'm going to be the best practice squad running back and best teammate I can be. And I think I've tried to do that. I mean, probably didn't accomplish it, but I attempted to do that the last 2 seasons. And so that's kind of given me a purpose. And so if that's my role again this year, that's what I'm going to do. If my role this year is special teams and role player on offense, I'm going to be the best running back role player at that whatever role I have. Like I'm going to try to be the best at that. So the past 2 seasons, I think I've gotten purpose out of doing that, right? Because the purpose is to help your team win. So the ultimate way to do that is make plays on Sundays. Okay, I'm not playing this Sunday. What can I do during this week to help Rachaad White, Chase Edmonds, Sean Tucker get ready to play this game on Sunday and play well? And in the course of doing that, I've built really good relationships with those guys. And so, like, I don't know. That's just that I think I'm looking forward to finding whatever that role is. So if I'm on the practice squad again, I'm going to try to be the best practice squad running back and best teammate I can be. If I end up playing on Sundays, whatever my role is for that Sunday, I'm going to be the best at that week. And so I'm looking forward to that. So that was kind of, I tried to avoid a boring answer, but that might be kind of boring. But that's kind of how I had to.
Comparison is the thief of joy, Patrick. Comparison is the thief of joy. I find that often. And that at the center of what you're saying is the same thing. Like instead of being like, my life could be this, my role on the team could be this, whatever. It's like that does you no good, at the end of the day.
Yeah. I assume it's like,
oh no, go ahead.
Everybody wants to be a starter, right? But there's 32 starters. So the majority of people aren't.
Yeah.
So
the vast majority. Yeah.
The vast majority. So like take 32, multiply it by 3.5, whatever the average number of running backs per team is. So it's like, all right, most people aren't. So are you going to be the best second string one? Are you going to be the best third string running back? Are you going to be the best practice squad running back? Like that's an option. So I'm not starting this Sunday. So I'm definitely not the best running back in the NFL this week. So what can I be the best at? Boom. I'm on the practice squad this week. I'm going to be the best practice squad running back. I'm going to prepare the best out of all practice squad running backs this week. And then that's going to hopefully help the team win in some way.
Do you catch yourself? Because I think the other thing that would be hard, is like soaking up this moment and this opportunity you have of getting to be an NFL player versus wondering, what am I going to do next? Are you able to like fully relish the moment without being weighed down by what your next move is going to look like?
I definitely try to. I have random moments where I'm like, I'm still doing this. This is crazy. You know what I mean? I just like, that's what I think to myself. And so I just have these weird moments that hit me. And then I have other moments where I'm like, I'm frustrated. I'm like, hey, I'm not playing. Like I want
You're like,
to.
yeah, this sucks.
I should have worked harder this past off season. I should have done more sprint drills. I should have like done more, running back stuff. So it's a weird balance. I think I've done a better job maybe the last 2 years. I think my third year in Miami and I don't know. It's just, it's like, you want to be happy and
You want to feel
gratified,
fulfilled in what you're doing.
fulfilled. Yeah. But then you also don't want to settle. Like contentment can go both ways. Like you can be content in like your non-optimal situation. And I don't think I want to be content in my non-optimal situation, but you want to be happy along the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
like my
isn't that like the big battle, not for just an NFL running back, but for like literally everyone in life, which is like for most people, the law of averages would suggest most people are not living their best life. Most people are not living their 99th percentile outcome. And you both have to acknowledge that that is true. And also at the same time, acknowledge it would make no sense to walk around being miserable all the time because I'm not Brad fucking Pitt, and I'm not crazy rich. I'm not the best looking person in the world. I'm not in the best shape in the world. Like you have to find a way to balance those two facts.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
and I assume it also has to be tough too to know, like, if you did ever, like, say you weren't podcasting with us right now and you were out doing running back drills and you say, Bryce, I can't go out to dinner because I'm going to be studying film, and you exerted like every second, would that actually result in a change that actually made you happy? Like that's the other hard thing to know. Is it actually proportional what you put into what you get out?
Yeah, that's another hard thing to balance, is like, that might be the optimal way. And I have like some skepticism whether that actually is the optimal way to becoming a great athlete. But like, just in theory, someone could move up to the mountains, train at the perfect gym, have the perfect diet, training schedule, but like zero friends. So you might be training in the optimal way, but you might not have the optimal life. Like, but there's this like balance of like, all right, like, but it's such a short time window. So do I make the sacrifice on personal life and having fun
for a
20s,
decade, right? For a decade. Yeah.
To have my best performance in football. But then you got to think like, okay, yeah, that sounds great in theory and in your mind.
And then you turn 32 and you're like, I literally have nothing. I got nothing.
There's that, but like that also might not be the case. Like locking yourself up in a gym and a bed and having a perfect diet like delivered to your door and like doing nothing else but training and studying football. Like you might go crazy and you might not even train as well as you could have if you had developed some sort of balance in life. And so, yeah, I think, like David said, it's kind of like just this, everybody's on this journey to find like what's the optimal balance for your life. And are you doing enough things for yourself personally, in your relationships, professionally? I'm kind of trying to remember what Peter was asking originally with this, like something about choosing like when I move on from football, but like,
or just wondering if it's hard to appreciate the present of like, holy shit, I'm playing in the NFL without being like, but at the end of the year, like, what am I going to be doing next kind of thing?
Yeah. I think I'm at the point now where, and I think I started to feel this last year, where like, I'm getting very excited to take on whatever comes next, the challenge that comes next, professionally and personally. But I just had so much fun at the end of last year that I'm like, I would have been bummed if I didn't keep playing. And so like I had a conversation with Bryce. I was like, I know we talked about me maybe this being my last season if I was just only on practice squad, and we kind of had this like thought like, yeah, if I don't play again, then maybe it's time to move on. But I don't know. I had so much fun working with the guys last year. I still feel like I got something in the tank playing wise, right? Like I think I have stuff that I want to prove in football that I can still play. Whether that comes up or whether it happens or not, I think I think I'm like at a point where I'll be happy either way, whether I play another down or not. I think I'm pretty happy with how things have turned out, but I still want to accomplish more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So whatever happens next, whether I get another year of football, whether I move on and find a job somewhere, like I think I'll be happy with what I accomplished so far, but I definitely want to do more.
Yeah. No.
That's where I'm at. I think that's where I'm at mentally.
I think that's a very healthy way. I mean, not that you should listen to my advice on what is healthy and what isn't, but that sounds like a well-adjusted way to view your career in general.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And I'm saying it. I'm saying it, like sounding well-adjusted, but you know, I can't lie to you guys and say that's how I actually feel every day. Because there's some days where there's just like
truth into power, Pat. Speak it.
That's true.
Speak it, and it becomes true. Words are very powerful.
Yeah.
And I mean, that question, like you said, like Davis is kind of saying, that's like not just unique for your situation. That's like literally everyone, because you want to improve, you want to get better, but you also don't want to be a slave to the future. You want to be able to enjoy the present, which sometimes can skew to being like lazy or resting on your laurels or whatever. And I feel like that's like the ultimate balancing act. How can you have that desire to work really hard and want more while being content with what you have right now?
Yeah. What does resting on your laurels mean? I mean, I know what it means, but like, you know,
it means Patrick, you already made it to the NFL. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to work hard.
No,
you don't need to go do internships.
You mean like the
I know
etymology?
what it means. What's the etymology of that?
Oh,
well,
God,
you like that?
Laurels were what they would put on. I don't want to say Roman if it's not right. But it is what they used to put on old-timey kings. Yeah, ancient Greek and Roman societies. You were awarded you like, it was like basically like you're the consul of Rome, so you get to wear a crown of leaves, which is a laurel.
Yes.
Gotcha.
There you go. Yeah, she will be.
But don't rest on them. You want to get more laurels.
I feel like I've just heard Peter use that expression a bunch. I didn't know that.
He does like it. No, he does. Peter, you do like that phrase. You do.
You like that?
I need a tracker. I've said it with you multiple times.
I believe so.
I must think you're actually resting on your laurels, and it just it comes up a lot.
I gotta stop.
He's trying to inspire you. That's that's Peter's way of lighting a fire underneath you.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to hear more from your escapades in the NFL this year. I do think we should talk a little book club. That was kind of the initial impetus for getting us together. I've been over via my newsletter, the P.O. Box newsletter. I set a goal. I wanted to read more this offseason, and I wanted to kind of have some public accountability to make sure I stayed on track. So I said I wanted to do 2 books a month throughout the offseason. And I wanted you guys to guest curate some book selections for the month of April, which we have wrapped up. Laird, why don't you kind of set up the one book that you specifically suggested, because you had read the original by the author, and then we had kind of group crowdsourced the other one we selected.
Okay, I'm going to pull up my notes just because I don't want to butcher it. But I read Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone a couple years ago by Benjamin Stevenson. He's an Australian author, but I think his background's more in comedy.
He's a comedian. I looked him up when the book was done. Yeah, he's like a stand-up. Yeah.
He's more, his background's more stand-up comedy, but I guess he does some writing. And I don't know, the first book. So I know we didn't do this one for the book club, but I really, really enjoyed it because I had just read an Agatha Christie. Am I saying?
Which one?
Yeah, Agatha Christie. The 7 Lives. It's like one of her classic ones where it's like people get invited to the island for the birthday. 10
little Indians. Or then there were none is what it's called now.
And then there were none. Yeah, it's renamed because don't look up the original.
Don't look up what it used to be called.
And then his new one came out, Everyone on This Train is a Suspect. So that was the one for this month. And again, I love this one just because of the meta aspect of it, right? Like I'm not a huge mystery book reader, but I enjoy reading them all the time.
I've read like not hundreds, probably 50 mystery novels in my life. Like I love them. And so I was into it.
I feel like, yeah, you're the perfect person to read it, and you probably would have a better critique. But for me, it's like I love these references to, oh, that's so classic. Like this author would do that, or here's the formula for like let me set up. Sorry, the narrator of these books writes books on how to write mystery novels.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
you're reading a narrator who knows the classic mystery novel tropes and classic twists and turns, and he goes, those are dumb, or he acknowledges the classics, but he says, oh, these are played out, this is dumb, and he kind of tells you like exactly what's going to happen and what page it's going to happen. But I mean, by the time you get to that page, you kind of forget, and then he goes, I told you so. So it's very cool to like see someone that knows a lot about mystery novels, the narrator, but I'm assuming, the actual author, Benjamin Stevenson, knows a bunch about mystery novels, go through a murder mystery from that perspective. So it's like, yeah, it's like the classic, like this person, those movies or TV shows where the person's really into true crime podcasts, and all of a sudden they find themselves in the middle of making a true crime podcast as it happens. So it's like, it's one of those things. I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. I think I read this one, I don't know, I think I read it in like 3 or 4 days. I think
I read it in 2 nights. I read to the first big plot thing happening, and then I was like, I'm just gonna finish this the next day. Yeah.
I enjoyed the meta aspect. I think he balanced it well, because you can get too bogged down in it. Like, I feel like one example is the TV show Community, and I don't know if you ever watched that, but there were episodes that got way too meta to where it was like no longer enjoyable. Even something more recently, like the Nathan For You show, The Rehearsal, had this meta element, and then he's like following the thread of it, and then it's like basically caves in on itself.
Did you think that was too much?
What? The Rehearsal?
The Nathan For You, Rehearsal.
The Rehearsal, I loved the pilot and the concept, but how the show landed, I thought was just way too meta.
I thought it was so absurd and so meta that I thought it was like genius. I was like so into it that I just thought it was all perfect. I might be just like a Nathan Fielder fan, but like I thought I am a
Nathan Fielder fan. But
I love that show.
Well, that's clearly why you love this book too much. But I think he towed the line, because you also still have to have a good mystery. Like, you still have to have interesting characters. The meta only works if that stuff is also working. And I think he's a talented enough writer that it works.
Yeah. So my favorite writer ever is David Foster Wallace, who is like the most meta, the most, doing commentary, footnotes inside of footnotes inside of footnotes. It's all, it's all meant to be done on a level outside of just the text. So I really like things like this.
What does he write? Is it mystery?
No, like postmodern literary fiction. In Infinite Jest. You're actually
I've heard of that. Yeah. I haven't read it.
He was an essayist too. You might have heard of Consider the Lobster, was a really famous essay that he wrote.
The essays are an easier way to get to decide if you like him or not, instead of reading one of his books, which are very dense. And I actually, during the pandemic, I listened via Audible to the entirety of Sherlock Holmes. So like there was it's like 40 hours long, but all I did was go to the range. I would go to the golf range every single day and listen to that. I've read, I mentioned in our text thread, Raymond Carver, Raymond Chandler, no, Raymond Carver, who writes these great mystery books. Like, I love mystery books, and I really liked this book. Is it the greatest mystery novel I've ever read? No, I mean, and maybe that might be like another meta level textual thing of like, just even because it's in a modern setting, that I was like, I can't even 100% give myself to this because it's not in the 1930s, rainy and stormy, like it doesn't even meet that expectation. Yeah. I loved the text device that he used, where he wants you to be referencing the text for clues itself. That is very, that is extremely postmodern. I loved that. I would recommend it. I would recommend it both to people who are very serious, like people who are into literature, people who like to read, and someone who just wanted a fun beach read, which to me is kind of the mark of a great book, actually, of like you can enjoy this as a snob and as just a person. Like his writing was fine. You know, I wouldn't come away with it being like, oh yeah, I would read a book by that guy that's not a mystery. Like I think probably I wouldn't, but it was like a very fun read. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. It was a good recommendation, Patrick.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad it worked.
I also very much enjoyed it. It was like, you know, you say like a breezy read, like you guys said, you read it quickly. There was some conversation in the Discord. A lot of people in the Deposit Kingdom Discord have been reading along, and I did agree. Someone mentioned that, and I guess I'll do like soft spoilers or whatever, but some of the implications of what like some of the characters had done was like pretty heavy as far as like their behavior. That was almost really jarring. You almost like so much of it was kind of slapstick in a winking way. And then we're talking about like rape and murder and like some really heavy subjects. That was a very jarring transition.
I think that's the conceit you make when you're reading a murder mystery, is like the murder almost has to be a game. You know what I mean? Like when you're like, I guess for me, I'm not a huge true crime person. Like I don't listen to like the crazy grisly, like I just My Favorite Murder and all that stuff. Like I don't partake in any of that. I'm not super into it. But when it like, you know, it's like the Sherlock Holmes, like the game is afoot. Like that is the conceit I'm making when I'm reading a murder mysteries. I don't care about, I don't want gross like body stuff. I want the mystery to be solved. The mystery is what I like.
Yeah. And like, you know, the murder happened, so there can't be any more like murder in real life is just like jarring and like,
gross. Yeah.
And gross and scary. But like in a murder mystery book, like you just already expected that first one. So I get why authors kind of escalate it by providing some gruesome backstory. And, you know, and I agree, Peter, I didn't think about that before you said it, but like, yeah, he did just kind of throw that in there, and you're just kind of just supposed to like take it in and like kind of move on with the plot. Yeah. I now I'm thinking through that again, and that makes sense why people were kind of like, oh, that wasn't like the best plot device, but you kind of have to do it in a murder mystery.
But I would say it didn't necessarily seem like because there was like an exploration of, you know, power dynamics between men and women within the literary space, and how publishing and trying to climb up the ladder, and how certain people who are higher up, men specifically, can manipulate that in their favor in a way that's pretty disgusting. Like those are real issues, but it's like a heavy thing to drop into a meta mystery novel.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a good point.
I don't want to spoil anything, but I did want to like point out, because Davis reminded me when he said he wasn't sure if he could call it the greatest of all time because it wasn't set in the 30s and 40s. And for whatever reason, like TV shows or books that have like very modern references, for whatever reason, like I'm just like, ooh, that wasn't as smooth. Like them dropping that in there didn't seem as smooth. But I thought Benjamin Stevenson did a good job with that. And you guys know what I'm kind of like referencing in terms of a modern technology that comes into play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't. Yeah. It's a spoiler.
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah.
Fast forward.
People,
a minute.
If you plan to read this and want to circle back, you can turn it off now. And I'm going to put the timestamps in the show notes. Davis can include them in the audio feed as well. And then you can just click when we're done talking about this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, to be completely honest, it's not a huge spoiler. Are we in the spoiler part right now?
Yeah. Spoiler.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought like him, the Chat GPT, like writing the novel, like it kind of fit like within, you know, like, I don't know, like sometimes when those references are made,
it's so current. It's so worked for me. But I think like 5 years from now, you're going to be like, Chat GP what? You're going to be like, I don't know what the fuck that is. Yeah.
It might be tacky or whatever in like a couple of years. But I don't know, like usually when those like modern references are made in books or novels, I'm like, ugh, maybe that's me just being snobby.
It worked.
But I thought it worked, and I kind of appreciated that. Like it wasn't too much of the novel, but it was kind of thrown in there and kind of was an interesting reference.
Yeah. I thought so as well. I mean, I think that I think the mystery was just hidden enough, but not, not the butler did it, but also not hidden and wrapped, like all the, as he lays out at the end. I don't know if you guys do this. I actually don't really try and quote unquote solve the mystery as I'm
really
reading through.
either.
I don't like it. I just want the detective to, I live for the Sherlock Holmes in the end, the scene where he calls everyone into the smoking room and explains how, like, that for me is like the catharsis of those stories is the best. You can't beat that.
I'm with you too. I like to kind of suspend disbelief, but I understand the people who want to do the clues. I kind of like shutting off my brain and then retroactively being surprised, flipping back and being like, oh shit, like, yeah, reading the description of the authors on the very first page. He did the like biographies, going back to that once you actually knew them from the story. I'm with you on that.
I definitely don't try to solve it, but I do try to notice details that I think will be brought up later, which I think Benjamin Stevenson kind of mixed in a good amount, which I liked. And then part of that was I knew he was going to do that because he did it in the first novel, where there's like one-off sentences of random like descriptions or actions that people did. But I knew like some of them might be brought back up later. I didn't know how they would turn into the murder or how they'd be related. But I think the one that stood out to me was was it the sunburn on the arm?
Yes. Yeah. I thought that was one of the ones where I thought that was very clunky. That is not a natural.
That's just the first example that popped in my head. But like some of them are obvious. Some of them are obvious. But you try to find the less obvious ones, and you can kind of like give yourself a point for figuring it out, or at least noticing.
Yeah.
The other thing that I really enjoyed, and I pointed this out in the newsletter, but there was some very, along with like the meta elements of the mystery, there was lots of meta jokes about being an author and obviously like how these authors feel about each other. Like I'll just read a couple of quotes I had flagged. If an author's biggest lie is that their writing is going well, their second biggest is that they're halfway through their peer's new book, which is just
that's like
hilarious.
Everyone knows that. Like in Peter and I's work, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I listened to your podcast or whatever." It's like, like that's never true.
There was another one I like too. It's the paradox of authorhood. Apparently, if you're good enough to be popular, you're too popular to be any good. Which is everyone wants more acclaim. All of this, striving more, but then once you get it, now you're not any good. You're too mainstream. You don't got it anymore.
I mean, this is when I was growing. This is what I wanted to do. Like I was an English major. Like I wanted to write like literary fiction, and obviously, I'm so glad that's not the way my life panned out. But I do so much enjoy the. I mean, it's very inside baseball, right? Of like, complaining about how other authors treat you or whatever. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah. Pat, if you really liked this book, you should really read like The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. I mean, it's crazy. Like even mid-season, like I bet you could read that in like 3 or 4 nights. Like they're very quick, but they're crazy good books.
All right, I'm writing it down.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to read one more writing quote that I really liked in here. This one isn't even like funny or anything, but he goes, "Writing is a dream job, but it's a job. And sometimes it's nice to be around people who share your opinion that the stakes of paper and ink are life and death. Writing is such a solitary act that a room full of communal misery is a tonic that many won't admit is quite rejuvenating, provided they're not killing each other, of course," which I thought was just like a great commentary on the entire book.
And that's what I liked about this guy's writing style is like he's not afraid to like throw in what I imagine are close to his actual opinions and make it funny because he's a comedian and like, but it seems like a good writer or at least has a good editor, which could be a transition into our next book. Someone that did not have a good editor, but maybe I'll let Peter tee that up and then we can introduce our special guest.
Well, wow. I think we should take a little break from book talk for our special guest here. Do we have one Mr. Ko Kieft? I would say in the house, but it's in his own house. I believe.
It's literally in his house.
Let me deactivate the headphones, and you guys can try to call them in here.
Let's see. It might not. It might. Your audio probably will be bad, but it
How's my
doesn't matter.
audio?
Oh,
that's
it's
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in a room with someone. If you want to start. How much do you guys know about this Tampa Bay legend?
Hey, anyone who plays offensive skill positions, we know. We know.
Correct.
Ko Kieft.
Yeah, we're intimately familiar with looking up his workout data versus Kate Otten's workout data to determine which one we would rather have on our fantasy football teams.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to who you'd rather have on your fantasy team.
No, I mean,
at one point it was unclear. There was a time where the depth chart was very open after Mr. Gronkowski retired.
Oh yeah, when we were going into even still then.
Yeah, did you watch his 12 catches that he had in
12
college?
catches in 6 years in college.
You honestly, how many catches do you think Dalton Schultz had in college? Like, you would be very surprised, the tight end position.
Most tight ends. Yeah, it's not like in college football anymore with like RPOs. They're not getting that many like pass catching opportunities as it is, because unless you're Brock Bowers and you're just an absolute freak.
It's the hardest position to play, we say, tight end, because you gotta do both. You got to do two diametrically opposed things very well.
Yeah, and you have to know like the entire offense, like run scheme from like what the O-line's doing to how their wide receivers are blocking. Then you got to know the pass concepts. I'd say like outside of quarterback or like center, like it's probably
tight end's probably the
hardest to learn.
Yeah, and
it's
running
like
backs,
most volume.
Running back's 100% the easiest position to learn.
Yeah, I'd say some of your like pass pro stuff gets kind of weird, but even then, it's just like third down packages where it's like pretty like niche. But
yeah,
well, I mean, is it? Don't you just have an assignment
for running back or
for a running back?
So for us, like we have to key in like, is it run or pass? So if it's the run scheme, we just have to hear the word that tells us which run it is. And a lot of times a number's tagged along, which can give you half the information. Let's say you recognize it's not run, then you got to hear the pass protection concept, and then also the
protection.
The protection concept, and then the route concept. And so just knowing those can kind of be difficult because there's a bunch of different words for those. But then once you step up to the line, like you know where the O-line's sliding. But you got to remember, all right, we changed the rules based on this defensive formation. If this guy does this or the O-line changes their point, then you got to understand the rules and ramifications of that. So that's where it gets tricky. But at least just stepping up to the line of scrimmage and knowing what to do, it's probably the easiest position to learn.
Well, like during the course of the week, like in season, we have entire, like if not 2 periods of practice where it's just that, like third down, like blitz, where you guys have to kind of like figure that out with the whole line.
Yeah.
It's really just like pass pro pickup, and the pass concepts are kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
like if you ran the right route, they want to know if like you saw the guy blitzing or not.
One thing that's interesting, like from our fantasy perspective, it used to be forever, like rookies, it took a while for them to contribute. Then we've seen in recent years, rookie wide receivers just hit the ground running, but the narrative still prevailed. Tight ends, hey, rookie tight ends, really slow, takes a while to develop. Then we see someone like Sam Laporta last year just like scorch the earth right out of the gate. And we know even as fantasy gamers, we are now way more open to the idea of rookie tight ends contributing right away. Ko, do you think, is there an actual trend where coaches are more willing to use rookie tight ends earlier? Like, is there an actual kind of bigger shift happening?
I just think it depends on what kind of athlete you have. With Sam Laporta, I mean, like the guy can run, like flat out run, runs great routes. So I think like a guy like Brock Bowers probably be a great fantasy pickup just because of the physical traits he has. And like the coaches are going to want to use that. Like you don't just pick that guy 13th overall. And even Sam Laporta, you don't pick a tight end in the second round that high unless you think he's like the guy. So it's a case to case basis. I would say, but
who's a really athletic, I shouldn't be blanking on his name, tight end got drafted by the Falcons.
Pitts.
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts.
subject
I
around
think
here, buddy.
Laird,
Sore
are you
subject.
doing a bit? Are you doing a bit right now? Probably no one has cost us more money than Kyle
We've
Pitts.
lost so much money drafting Kyle Pitts these past few years.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna like. He was the ultimate measurables guy.
Yeah.
But production, I don't know how well he did his rookie season. Did he do? He didn't do well.
No, he did. He as a rookie, he was awesome. He had 1,000 yards, but only 1 touchdown as a rookie. But it was the last 2 years. I mean, he hurt his knee. So he hurt his knee his second year and didn't get a surgery on it. And it's just, he's not, people are saying now maybe he'll be 100%. But the guy, I want to ask Ko Kieft about our guest about Ben Sinnott, who just got drafted by the Commanders in the second round. He and I went to the same college. We both went to K-State. He converted from fullback to tight end, basically because I think the coaches just looked at him and they were like, I think maybe he had a growth spurt or something, but like I think they just looked at him and they were like, you are too good of an athlete to be a fullback. Do you think that will be helpful, or do you think it'll go the other way and his NFL coaches will be like, we just really want you to block because we already know that you can do it?
I think from a fantasy perspective, like him being able to play fullback, I don't think it necessarily hurts him. Like he's going to run, maybe do some lead ISO. I mean, he could probably like run some routes out of the backfield and some of those things, like some play action pass stuff too. I don't think like his measurables at the combine, I don't think they're going to want to play him at fullback. Like they're going to want to get him out on routes, run some basics and stuff like that. Get him in the middle of the field, let him make some plays. Interesting you say that because I don't really know him. I know Cooper Beebe pretty well from K-State because I played
K-State
at Minnesota. But that's an odd kid because I watched a couple K-State games just to watch Cooper, and he's the real deal, man. He can block too. He's a true like two-way tight end.
He's a baller. My concern would be that he gets typecast a little bit because I think he was pretty natural at catching passes in a way you maybe would not have expected.
And again, you're not drafting a blocking tight end / fullback in the second round.
Yeah.
Like, those offensive coaches obviously saw him and see his physical tools, so they're going to want to use him as a weapon, not necessarily like waste him. Not to say that it's a waste because it's what I do. It's just for guys like that, and they can play for a long time. But for the fantasy perspective, like you get drafted in the second round, like they're going to try to use you because I mean that's pressure not only from like the coaches, but like that's pressure for the GM. Like if he does well, that's just like good on the GM. It's good on the coaches. So like they're going to try to feed him. It's just kind of what happens.
Laird, what were you going to say about Pitts, though? I think we missed what you were going to say.
Well, I think my point was like just because someone has measurables, like maybe they won't be as productive.
The injuries, the offense he was in, like Arthur Smith, like
yeah. The thing with
Kyle Pitts was highly productive in college, though, too. Like it wasn't like he didn't have production.
Shout out Kyle Trask.
Oh yeah, shout out.
If you're watching this, bro,
a big part of the reason Laporta did well was very smart quarterback he had. I think
it's similar offense to ours.
Yeah.
Is that the guy you called by his first name Jared earlier, just trusting we would know you meant Goff?
Number 16 for the Lions.
Yeah, that's right.
We are aware of the Ryan Gosling lookalike.
Our tight ends coach at Tampa now is would have been Pitts's. He was with the Falcons the last 3 years.
Oh, cool.
So I could ask.
There's always crossover. I was going to say about the hybrid, like I think any fullback in the league now is basically going to be expected to play some tight end type hybrid role. Like there's not, I don't know if there's
don't want to waste a roster spot on a pure fullback.
It's very hard. Like I think Alec Ingold was kind of like that, but even him
will line tight end.
But he's more fullback. But like
he's a fullback body, but I mean like a majority of the time he's lining up at like an H back or like.
Well, Kansas City for their first 2 Super Bowls, for the first 5 AFC Conference Championship games, had a dead ass fullback. Like Michael Burton, he would only play fullback. He would get carries. Like he signed with Denver last year, but I think as of right now, I think he's unsigned actually.
Yeah. The Patriots had like Devlin was like,
yes,
like one of the last like full-time fullbacks, but like even like Juszczyk is one of the best fullbacks in the NFL. but he lines up at tight end positions a lot. But I wouldn't.
Arguably more than a true fullback.
Yeah, they move him around, but I mean, most of what he does is blocking. He gets the ball 20 times a year.
The days of Lorenzo Neal, like in the iPhone lead blocking for LT and Mike Allstott
look. It might be coming back. Ko. It might come the other way. You guys see those safeties getting closer and closer to the box all the time. What better way to punish a 210-pound safety being 6 yards off the line of scrimmage than running a Lorenzo Neal right at them? I mean, imagine.
And it's not uncommon for linebackers to play at like 220, 225. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But they just have to be very fast. But it's hard for a 220-pound linebacker to step up in the hole and close a gap against a 240-pound just bruiser, a fullback. So there are probably situations where, like, if you're going against a team that has just like super light, fast linebackers, you might want to get in like 12 personnel or like, I don't know, 21 personnel, right? Where you have a fullback and a halfback and just run it down at those skinny linebackers.
I think it's also like a domino effect just from the direction college football is going and the offense is in college football. Like how many?
Yeah, it's all wide. It's all spacing.
Have a fullback on the roster. None. Like if they do use fullback, like we said, it's like they're going to use probably their shortest tight end, their sharpest tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Ko, did you see it was an infamous photo in fantasy circles of Brock Bowers next to Gronk. Did you see that photo?
Yeah. I mean, dude, Gronk is just huge. Like, he makes him look small, but like Gronk,
he looks like a guy asking an older boy to let him play Dungeons and Dragons with him or something. I mean, that photo did irreparable damage to Bowers' rep, unfairly, unjust, I think.
Oh yeah, I'll pull it up here on screen. It like in the community, because again, Brock Bowers, back to the Kyle Pitts thing. Like Brock Bowers is like the best tight end prospect we've seen like since Kyle Pitts just like broke out as a true freshman, playing alongside all of these other great guys. And to Davis's point, like this photo in people's minds was like, wait, are we sure about this guy? This is the Stone Cold Crusher, that we're all excited about.
There's a little bit of perspective. Gronk's closer to the camera, but I mean, he's just a huge dude in the first place.
It's crazy.
It's just a really unflattering photo of Brock. I mean, it's about as bad as it gets. It's not fair to him. Yeah.
Completely.
Okay, Ko, you grew up in Iowa, but you went to Minnesota instead. What's the deal? I mean, a tight end who grew up in Iowa, not attending to Iowa or Iowa State. What's the deal there?
I played quarterback and linebacker in high school, so it was kind of like hard for coaches to kind of like project what position I'd play in college. And my recruiting was mostly like Missouri Valley schools, so like South Dakota State, Northern Iowa, North Dakota State. I actually was committed to North Dakota State my senior year, and then Minnesota offered like around Christmas, like sometime in December, and that was my only Division I FBS offer. I was like, I'll go play in the Big Ten for sure. Minnesota had, at the time, I wanted to go like pre-med, and Minnesota kind of had a better school for that compared to North Dakota State too. But it's kind of how
North Dakota State is not the one that wins the championship every year. That's South Dakota State, right? The Jackrabbits.
Well, South Dakota State the last couple years, but North Dakota State had like, I want to say like maybe like 4 or 5 in a row.
Which one did Wentz go to? North or South?
North Dakota. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There we go. Yeah. So are you still pro? Were you Iowa or Iowa State growing up, or you didn't care?
I was a Hawkeye fan growing up. Pretty hit or miss.
Do you have your Caitlin Clark jersey yet?
No, dude. Ever since they never recruited me, dude, I can't stand it.
Done.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Wow.
Screw 'em.
You were rooting for the Gamecocks in the championship.
I would
For sure.
I didn't watch. I just like Caitlin Clark is amazing. Like her highlights are nuts. I'm just not like a big basketball person to start with.
Yeah.
But no. Screw the Hawks, man. I ain't got no time for them.
I love that. Don't ever let that go. Keep that in. Yeah.
Ford still owes me for the infamous the Cooper DeJean fair catch
the Minnesota Tristan
That's
Oz.
so true. Yeah.
Ko, do you have any, we've done, we're talking at the beginning, we've been doing shows with Laird now for 6 years, basically. Do you have any good Laird stories, either on and off the field, locker room? Get us something that Laird wouldn't otherwise volunteer himself.
Did you think he was an intern the first time you met him?
No, I did not. I knew he was on the team. Like when he came over, I was like, "Oh, we got a white running back. Like that's nice. Like that's a hard-working white guy brand right there." And he ended up like moving in the same apartment that me and Hainsey were in, and it just was kind of like he was like right in the floor below me.
Like right below.
We started hanging out, man. It clicked. But any good Laird stories, man? It's hard.
Don't get me in trouble.
Yeah, I don't.
See, now that has us intrigued. If you're worried about something he's going to say, that's what we need to hear.
Like
I got
mic.
Yeah, I got a good Ko Kieft story that happened recently. So I dropped.
Yes.
This dude, I think the day after, the week after, people are just asking me about him. Like,
at brunch the next day.
Yeah, they're just like, who's that guy? He was so cool. Like, more people were excited to meet and like dance with him than me. I was like, well, do you guys have any fun things to say about me?
That is big. Making an impression at someone's wedding is big.
Yeah, everybody was sick of me, and everybody was like, "Oh, Bryce was so beautiful. You look good in your suit." But that Ko Kieft guy, he was hilarious.
I mean, I'm always a great wedding invite because I'll get it going.
Yeah.
I mean, you put us next to me and your cousin.
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah,
Johnny. Shout out
to Johnny, who's not going to listen to this, but
shout out to Johnny.
We had to scramble. You guys have weddings, like people just don't show up in like the last minute and they don't tell you. So we had to like dissolve a table. So like Ko and his date had to like just go to like Bryce's cousin's table. But it worked out perfectly where there's another big guy who was just like,
absolutely.
He's also the life of the party. So those two together were just like
perfect.
It was like you couldn't inject more like fun people into a dance floor. But they were there, and it just like got everybody super pumped up.
I'll say this too, like I feel like for a wedding there was a absolute ton of people like our age.
Yeah,
like there was obviously like family members that were like older and stuff.
Yeah,
but I feel like that was, and it wasn't like a big wedding. It was like a majority, like 85% of the people were just like people our age that you and Bryce are friends with. Like,
yeah, that's part of the reason Peter didn't get the invite. He was a little on the older side.
Oh my god! Oh wow, that hurts. Wow.
Laird, how many of your quarterbacks were invited to this wedding? Like was Davis Webb there? What were how many quarterbacks?
I think 2.
Rosen was there. I sat by him during the ceremony.
Josh Rosen was there?
Josh Rosen, wow.
He was there. Rosen was there because he's from the same area that Bryce grew up in. So we've had a ton of mutual friends. And so like Rosen's hung out with Bryce and I and our friends a bunch.
Okay.
So that was an easy invite. And then just another buddy, Chase Forrest shout out Chase Forrest. How many shout outs do we have this podcast? And no one knows.
Going.
Yeah,
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
Quarterback from college. He played. He was backup for most of his time there, and just played here and there. So, but he's like, I lived with him for 4 years, so he's like one of my best friends.
Any
Shout
other current
Chase
players?
Forrest.
Any other Bucs?
Or any other current players that were at your way? Chad Hansen, he make his way there?
Chad Hansen was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Other
Fitzpatrick, Miles Gaskin, Jason Sanders.
Gaskin.
But Miles was gonna go, and then something came up, so he couldn't make it. Unfortunately,
Come on, Miles.
Damn, he was at the collapse table. Miles Gaskin was on the collapse table at Pat's wedding.
But I'm not gonna share. He had good reason. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
If Miles could have been there, he would have been there. I'll say that.
I believe that. I would never doubt Miles.
But his name was up on the seating chart of the dissolved table. I'll put him on blast for that. Seating chart. And I had to text everybody at that table, you're no longer sitting there. And
other names, just Tom Brady, a bunch of guys that just really got to put them on blast.
I would have invited Tom if he had thrown me my very first career touchdown. So I can't say that that's the truth, but
I'll sauce him one.
I think Ko can say that. Very first career touchdown, caught a pass from Tom Brady.
Whenever I get married.
Tom will be
Well, you
there.
caught Tua's. Does that mean Tua's got
First
Tua
pass.
got-
I mean, that's his first
Yeah.
pass.
We're counting it.
Did you invite him?
No, I like I told you guys, like we literally there's like
It's
probably
only, yeah.
60, 80 people I could have invited, and I just like Bryce and I just had to go. All right,
Tua and Tom
Pete,
Brady didn't make
Davis.
the list.
I,
I
feel
mean,
better now. I
pretty
feel better.
exclusive if Tom didn't get invited.
I don't even know where I would have sent Tom's invitation. I probably could have figured.
I was
out
gonna say, I bet you can't get a hold of that guy.
honestly, if I could choose any quarterback, obviously I was stoked Rosen was there, and like
You
'cause
choose
he's
Goff.
somebody of Bryce and I, and like he knew a ton of people at the wedding. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, I would have loved to have.
Oh.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna see, the thing is, like, I'm not gonna bother him with an invite. You know what I mean? Like he
He's
would have
got 27 kids.
thought it was nice. He has kids. He's living his best life in
See,
Arizona.
but Laird, you'll learn those are the best people to invite to the wedding because you get the credit and they appreciate it, but you know they're not going to take you up on the free meal. It's really the way to go.
Yeah, but if
Until they do.
I've been invited to weddings where I don't think that they actually expected me to go, but then you go on the registry and you send them a gift, and it's like, they got me. I sent them a gift.
I got him. The trash can I throw my trash in away every day. I never don't open the lid, and I think Patrick Laird sent this to my house.
I wasn't even thinking about you. I had another person in mind, but
well, I dead ass. It would have been because I invited Peter. I invited a bunch of podcast related people. I thought there was a decent chance because it lined up at a good time with training camp. I thought there was a decent chance you'd come.
I think
he scheduled his wedding with the hopes that you would be able to go. I mean, his fiance had a different date, and he's like, "No, this is the Laird window."
I think I remember talking to Bryce about it, and we looked into going, but there was something that came up. Do you remember what I told you? I can't remember now, but
no,
I don't know.
And
the vet appointment.
I hold no ill will about it, but I think it's absolutely something that I'll picture for the rest of my life is you going to Bryce and being like, honey, look, there's these guys. I know them from the internet. Kind of like, but do you want to go to their wedding?
What was the date of your wedding?
August 13th. I think what happened is originally it was supposed to be August 6th, and then we had to move it a week later. August 13th was the first week of preseason, so I think that's actually why it would not have worked regardless.
And I'm still, I wanted to go to David's wedding so bad. I had another wedding I was in on the same day. Davis could have really put the screws on me if he asked me to be in the wedding, and then it's like apples to apples. But I was.
Oh man!
What year was the wedding?
2022.
2022.
Wait, that's been 2 years now. Wow, that wasn't last year.
Yeah. So it would have been your first year with the Bucs. So you were the new guy.
You did not plan that wedding with Pat being able to make it if it was August 13th.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, in my memory, that was the first week of the preseason, so it definitely would not have worked. But August 6th was before the preseason.
But even then,
even then,
27.
Yeah.
It's okay. You didn't want me there.
Your life is over until January.
Ko, did you watch the Brady roast?
I watched Tony Hinchcliffe's highlight reel, and we watched Nikki Glazer's set. In the facility, and I about pissed my pants. Actually,
it was hilarious, but it was like I almost feel
I was cringy. I felt bad.
I felt uncomfortable watching it.
I mean, that's the point of a roast, though.
I know, but
you guys know him as a person like that. It's very to me, Tom Brady is just like a TV character. It's very different. I didn't watch it though. Who has that time?
He's such a good dude. Not to suck his dick more than it needs to be.
Glazing.
Oh, sorry.
We'll edge Tom for a little bit here. Just a really nice dude. Pat would run around nice route, babe.
Yeah,
nice. Hey, babe.
Job, babe.
Well, then what do you guys think? Because I was trying to wrap my head around why would he agree to do this? Because you do take a beating up there.
They gave him $20 million
to gain from that? Money doesn't mean anything to Tom. Come on.
He's an executive producer, So on this, I guess on this this whole roast series, they're trying to get it. They're trying to get more people to do it. So as an executive producer, if he goes first, kind of creates some cultural cachet around, hey, this new roast thing's coming back.
Yeah, then maybe Adam Sandler wants to do it.
Did this. Now let me try to get some other great athletes to step up and do it. He'll make a ton of money with the whole series if other big names step up and do it. So I think he kind of like took a little like short-term personal hit. People are going to forget these jokes in 2 years. So I kind of like get the calculus, but I think for like, I didn't watch the whole thing either. I just saw clips, but like people are talking about it now. We're kind of laughing. Oh, she killed him with those jokes that like, we're going to forget in a year and a half. Everybody's going to still think he's a good dad. Everybody,
and he'll still have the money in his bank account.
He'll still have the money. And like, there's theories that him and Eli Manning are racing to buy a team. And so any sort of like,
how would Eli possibly have enough money?
Manning,
No, that would be funny.
And Eli are like partners on all their media production. So I'm sure Eli would be involved, but I meant to say Peyton.
The only unfortunate thing for that strategy, if you're trying to bring awareness, is like the Brady roast was such a perfect intersection of like the cultural zeitgeist, the sports world, all the drama surrounding the Patriots, all of those power players. Like we were brainstorming on a show yesterday, and outside of Tiger Woods, I cannot think of another athlete where you would have as much material, as much fodder, as
Michael
much
Jordan.
Energy. The joke, I still don't think you would have as much.
All the jokes about Michael are too dark because some of them are probably true. Sadly, would be the issue with Mike.
But they're not getting Michael Jordan to do a roast.
Do you think it's the gambling stuff, Davis?
Well, gambling stuff, and I mean the Michael Jordan rumors are. I mean they are darker than that, and they're all pretty. I guess maybe the issue is everyone says about Peyton, about Gronk, about like, oh, they're great dudes. Like you very rarely will hear someone in Michael Jordan's life be like, and Michael Jordan is a great dude, right? Like you don't the Michael Jordan stories very rarely end that way.
You might not find enough of his friends to get up there and do it.
That might be the issue. Yeah, and then
it's also
what other athlete is famous enough?
I will say, but one of the whole subplots with Jordan, right, is how like he wants to always get revenge, always, imagine his final say on the dais, like coming back at all the roasters where he's like, it would be too mean. It
would be too mean. It would be too mean, I think, sadly. Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think a basketball player is probably next. Like whether it's I don't know.
You could do Curry. Curry is probably famous enough.
Curry would be a good one. Yeah. But I think they're trying to move it into more of the athlete world, like, or trying to blend it a little bit.
LeBron is too corny. LeBron, I think, would just be too. He's like almost too self-aware, I think, to be funny.
And he's guarded like outside. How many decision jokes could we listen to for 2 hours?
Yeah.
That's why I really enjoyed the roast. I was shocked that I sat through. We watched it in 2 nights, Lauren and I, and I was very entertained. And it was more of me just being like, how can you top this? Like Tom Brady is such a cultural figure with so much fodder to work with. I was very impressed by the show.
Do you guys think in his heart of hearts he still wants to be playing football? Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to know. You would know it better, I guess, but
not even. I mean, probably not, just because at some point enough is enough.
And the last year wasn't that fun for him, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, he probably, if he could, I think if his body like wasn't feeling as bad as it would as a 45, 46-year-old man, I think he for sure would. Time is just undefeated, man. And he did his best.
I mean, he physically, I mean, I guess you can't know what someone's feeling like, but the last year, it's not like he looked like so much. I mean, you guys would have been in the locker room with him, but like, it's not like he looked on the outside that much worse or in pain or immobile than he did at the end in New England. Like, I thought his last season in New England was like the worst he'd ever looked. As just like from a comfortability.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I kind of forget.
You can just say if he has you guys under an NDA about anything.
Yeah.
To say about him right now.
I just don't want to share anything that's like wrong, like because it's hard to like because we only play with him his last year,
6 months.
His last year, yeah.
Last season. So it's like it's hard for me to because people ask me about that all the time. I'm like,
would he do his like recovery stuff, like his stretching and the ice and the heat and everything in the facility, or does he have like all his own people for that?
I mean, is Alex Guerrero that guy?
Yeah.
Be with him like all the time, so I'm sure they did some stuff at the facility, but I think they did it mostly at like TB12, which
TB12.
There's the facilities like down the road from our facility. His TB12 training thing.
There were
like you saw him like rolling out sometimes, but he did stuff on his own like away from the facility or like
to keep right.
I mean, he wants to go do a roast and make $20 million instead of playing an entire football season and not even make that much.
Not even making $20 million. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think what we've always heard from these guys is just, the desire to compete and having Brady stepped away, coming back, that it's just like, that's why my thesis for him wanting to do the roast was less about money. And this, you guys would know way better than me, but just like feeling that dopamine rush of energy and cultural relevance when like everyone is paying attention to you, you are literally in the spotlight. Like that's probably the last time or first time he's had a rush like that since playing in the NFL.
I
don't know if he's like that.
I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say like he's had so much attention poured on him for so long. Like I don't even know if that like
he's probably ready to not have that.
Like honestly. I don't even know if that hits him.
Well, doing the roast is not a good way to not have that.
To not have that.
Saying like,
yeah.
I don't think I wouldn't say like he hates it or else he wouldn't have done it. He's not gonna be like Barry Sanders and kind of like go off into the sunset and kind of a quiet. I mean, Barry Sanders still in the spotlight, but he's had a pretty quiet like post-playing career. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't expect him to do that. But it's like I think like he's had so much attention on him, and I don't think that's like his number one motivator. I think he's like ultra competitive in whatever endeavor he's choosing, and I think right now he's choosing the business world.
Yeah.
Like, have you guys seen Business Insider did an article on all the companies that he has a hand in?
He just bought an English soccer team.
It's absurd.
Like 3 months ago.
He owns an absurd amount of companies. His clothing brand, I don't know if it like either went under or got acquired by Noble, but like I think he's really going to it. He's trying to be like Magic Johnson, like kind of be a big player in the business world is what I imagine. And so the media is playing a big part. He knows that he can make a ton of money early in media, and so I think that's just like one of his first avenues into that. That's my guess.
He's gonna start announcing this fall, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going into color commentating, and so like
he's gonna be phenomenal at that.
Yeah, he's gonna be really good at breaking it down. It'll be interesting to see if he's like because there's like an entertainment aspect to it.
Yeah,
I mean, even like the conversations that you have with him, like he can.
Yeah, no, he's
he's
sharp,
personable.
He's sharp, personable, witty.
That'll be fun.
You kind of want to like relate to like the people, kind of like I know people get annoyed with Tony Romo, but like when I'm watching a game and Tony Romo's good, he's like kind of on his like.
No, he's the best. I'm still pro Romo. I'm like the last one left in America. I'm still.
I like him too because it's like you're watching a guy that's like excited to watch the game with you, but he also wants to like explain
exactly.
It. And sometimes he over-explains it. Sometimes he says dumb things, but he's excited to watch it with you.
Great golfer, Romo. Much better than Brady. Extremely good golfer.
There was
the best pro football golfers.
Yeah.
In the roast, Belichick had a joke about Matt Light and telling him that he always had to tell him to shut up, things he was saying to the media. Like, is there still? I assume for the rookies, there's media training. Is there specific things like from the coaches where they'll be like, "Hey, we're not talking about this," or if people ask you at the podium about this stuff, like, does that kind of media training exist from the coaches with the players?
You don't get it from the coaches, but the team has like 3 or 4 like media personnel, and then once a year during camp, you kind of get like the spiel, like here's the do's and don'ts. And it really is only the guys. I mean, it's Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tristan, all the bigger name guys that are getting the interviews every week. And those same people are kind of around when you do the interviews, and they just kind of give you like, sometimes they'll tell you what the questions are going to be.
Sometimes they'll say like, hey, somebody's going to ask you about this. Like, don't really give them an answer. Like, don't comment. Like, so the team has people working to kind of like help you with that.
Yeah, they'll prep you right before they're walking up. When you're walking to the podium, they'll be like, hey, these are some of the things that we think they're going to ask you. Like, let's say you're like, I'm just thinking back to my time in Miami, like, all right, 2 running backs went down. I'm now going to get elevated and play more. So they're going to start to ask you, all right, they're going to ask you maybe about your situation, but then they might ask about the injuries of these other guys. Like, you never talk about the injuries of other players.
No.
I think I've remembered like Coach Bowles a couple of times will just remind us like, hey guys, we don't mention this stuff. You never mention game plan specifics. You never mention
It's more to just like family or like friends and stuff.
Yeah. Like don't mention your family and friends. But like, yeah, with media, I think it's organization by organization. I mean, New England classically with Bill Belichick was like, we're just like looking forward to the next week. I'm preparing for Cincinnati.
We don't say shit.
Yeah, preparing for Cincinnati. That's my answer. Like that's kind of culture there. I think it's different team to team. But I just don't think we have many guys that on our team that have an issue with that.
Yeah, and you guys are such a veteran team too, right? Like if you just drafted, all these young rookies, then maybe, and they're the superstars who are kind of the voice of your locker room, then maybe then it's a little more pertinent.
Yeah.
Real lunch pail team. Baker had to like completely like reinvent his career, and then kind of shoved it on everyone last year. I do love that. Yeah,
that's a good story. I don't think it's over. It's gonna be interesting to see this year.
Were you guys kind of because there were questions about are they going to bring Baker back, or what's the deal with Godwin? There was some like trade like were you guys surprised that they decided to run it back? With all the same personnel?
No,
our Bulls and our GM love Baker.
Yeah,
they just love like the leader that he is. Obviously, he's a great quarterback. Made a bunch of plays this year, but I think more than his like playmaking ability, I think especially on the offensive side, like it's just really fun to play for that guy. Like,
makes you wonder what's in the water in Cleveland, doesn't it, fellas?
You see him truck somebody.
What'd you say?
Makes you wonder what's in the water in Cleveland. They looked at Baker and they said, "We're good. No, thank you."
Yeah,
their media trainers right now are saying, "Don't comment on that one."
Yeah, well, I want it on the record. Very questionable decision making from our friends in Cleveland to let our boy Baker walk. It could not have been me.
It's kind of a fun spot to be in because you have the guy that has the talent of a first round pick, and then went through those two or three seasons of like teams. All right, do we want this guy? Do we not?
He got cut, got on a plane, and led a game-winning fourth quarter drive, being on the team for 36 hours.
Yeah,
it's funny because we see a bunch of clips.
We're seeing a bunch of clips of that season because that was Liam Cohen, our OC, was there.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting. He was the Rams OC.
But so you have the skill level of a number 1 overall draft pick, and then you have a guy that has the chip on his shoulder that went through all the stuff that we kind of taught, teams going like, hey, do we want to, Carolina, right? The Rams. And also he was a walk-on in college, like shout out to walk-ons. Like that's kind of a cool thing to have, right? Like a lot of number 1 overall quarterbacks are just kind of like, they get drafted by an organization and they're given like 7 years to prove it. I don't know. Yeah. So it's a cool balance to have, like a guy that's still young and hungry, but like has the high ceiling, the skills to.
Well, the even funnier thing is that Baker was at Texas Tech, and then Pat got there, and he was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm out. Like I gotta go. I gotta go somewhere else. There's no one's better than this guy." And then he wins the Heisman at Oklahoma.
Yes,
like very cool story.
Davis Webb was at Texas Tech with Baker as well.
Correct. Yeah. Actually, Davis Webb technically started this season over Pat his true freshman year, which is again very funny.
Yeah.
Football's a funny game.
Ko, do you play any fantasy? You watching Red Zone on your Sundays off?
No. I'm watching as little football as possible. I was a big fantasy in like high school and stuff. And then I kind of got into college, and even in college, like football becomes a job. And so when I was
when I was away from football, it was like, I don't want to be around it. I don't want to hear about it. I'm still kind of like that a little bit. But yeah,
it makes sense.
He's a football guy.
I'm still a football guy. Always will be. As soon as I'm done playing, I'm going to live in, like, I'm just going to watch it all the time.
Yeah.
What's your max deadlift, max squat, and do they let you lift heavy at the Buccaneers facility, or is it all like trap bar deadlift?
Mostly no. I would go on a limb to say I doubt there's a single
NFL team
that does straight bar deadlifts. Just too much risk.
What about at Minnesota? Same.
Your weights.
Do you guys know his background in like exercise science, or was that just a random?
No. I see he's got the bending barbell emblem, so I'm assuming he was big on the lifting in Minnesota.
I got my master's in sport and exercise science.
Nice.
Whenever I'm done playing, I want to be like a strength coach.
Yeah.
Ko
Kieft is a very strong strength and conditioning coach name.
When he said he was thinking about being pre-med at Minnesota, it wasn't like, you know, when like people say like, oh, I'm pre-law and like,
yeah.
I was a biology major.
No, like I was gonna say, it's like he was a legit pre-med applicant, and then just like it didn't work with labs, and then like he got drafted. So
yeah,
it's
like all the labs are in the morning. PGA flight came in.
So I just wanted to put that out there.
It was kind of like, do you want to be a biology major or do you want to be on the football team type of thing? And I was like, whatever. My older brother is like an emergency surgeon. So he was like going to med school and his residency when I was kind of like going to college. And I talked to him and he's like, dude, like you got to really love school and you got to really want to be that. And I just kind of was like, not sure about it. Kind of like playing college football. But I always loved the weight room, was always around it. And, I just kind of turned that into my college degree and kind of my outside of football hobby, like thing to learn about.
So deadlift, what do you got?
My best deadlift ever was probably like 550.
Christ.
And the best squat I ever did was in college. And that was 455 for 8 reps.
Jeez.
Someone break out the 1 rep max calculator on that.
I'm not nearly as strong as that now. Not even close.
Well, they don't really want you to be, right? I mean, they want you much more pliable.
No, it's a whole thing. Like, you don't necessarily need to be like that strong. And I would say for 98% of like guys in the NFL, like they're already strong enough.
Yeah.
So you don't need to hammer these heavy weights where you have this risk of injury. And I mean, just hammering heavy weights is just hard as hell on your body. Like there's a lot of wear and tear. So if you're doing that constantly, will probably likely lead to like higher injury rates. It's more training for like speed, rate of force development, which is like moving lighter weights faster, like being more explosive. That's kind of like where I would say like high level performance training is going versus just like trying to lift as much as possible.
Do you miss that though? Do you miss putting
dude,
a bunch of plates on the bar?
I love 2 things. I love crushing heavy weights and I love drinking beer.
Yeah. Wow. I think Ko Kieft and Dylan Laube might really enjoy each other's company.
Move out and he could be Ko's new roommate.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll see if I can connect the 2 of them.
Goodness. Speaking of which, is that I thought that was a protein shake. Is that a Miller Lite?
That'd be a Miller Lite.
It's a protein Miller Lite.
It's just the afternoon.
I'd say it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but it's 4:09 in Tampa.
It's close enough.
Yeah,
it's close enough.
We worked out this morning together, so
we did.
Kind of bought our afternoon.
Yeah, and I'm sure
we earned it.
What is your favorite all-time book?
Probably The Heart of Everything That Is. And I just read it about 6 months ago. It's a book about Red Cloud, chief of like the Lakota Sioux Indians.
I'm so funny. I was just listening to a podcast about the Lakota War, and I was thinking there's got to be a really good book about this.
So I grew up in Sioux Center, Iowa, which is in Sioux County.
Oh, cool.
Where the remnants of the big reservation is, yeah.
So the big Sioux reservation is like kind of in like the southern middle part of South Dakota. But I just love like history. Like in high school, loved history. So just kind of like been reading the last year like a lot of Indian books. What's the one about the Comanches?
Yeah,
Joe Rogan had like the author on. I forget. I have it somewhere. I know that's a great read about Quinai Parker.
Yeah,
but a lot of
that's what I read too. I'm blanking on
it. I just finished an absolute monster of I'm looking at it right now on my bookshelf about Genghis Khan and like the Mongol Empire.
Ko is in on ancient history. I couldn't get Pat in on ancient history. He's not interested.
I love like what humans used to like, where we were, like what we used to do, and like what we are now. Like it's crazy. What the average human back then had to like endure and like put up with, and just like
you listen to Hardcore History.
Dan Carlin.
Yeah, Dan Carlin.
Yeah, I listened to like part of the World War I episode. Or like one of the series.
Too much for a busy man.
I forget where I'm at when I started back up.
Yeah, they're like 6 hours long. They're amazing.
They're amazing.
Okay. Well, the heart of everything that is. I'm gonna order. I'm gonna read it.
Have found. You know what? I don't want to. I have a short amount of time left. Should we talk a little bit about the trading game?
I just want to say this about the trading game. I got about 20 pages in. One, I kind of already had a bad taste in my mouth because of what Pat said in our text thread, and I immediately knew what he was talking about. So I was kind of already on the fence. And this motherfucker claims to be a finance guy, and he gets like 19 pages in, and he's like, "Yeah, and Bitcoin's obviously shit in a bubble." And I'm like, "All right, well, I'm not reading the rest of your book, Gary Stevenson."
So you turned the book off, Davis?
No, I read it. I mean, he's fine.
Did you finish it, Laird, or did you bail after you got frustrated?
I bailed. I think I made it to the start of his internship, I think, and made it like a little bit into the interactions with the guys. And then it was like something like there was like not a red flag, but something kind of like came up in my head about this guy. I was like, I don't know. There's the way he's describing things. I'm just like, it doesn't sound legit to me. So then I went online and like, obviously not the best research ever, but like a lot of people are like that worked in trading were like, yeah, this guy's story didn't ring true to us. It doesn't really make sense to call yourself the best trader at what was the bank?
Citibank. I mean, that's just good. That's just good marketing. I don't begrudge that.
Yeah, but it like the way he like, I don't know, it didn't seem like it all made sense and tied together.
So
yeah,
I
agree.
What was really funny, Laird, is when we had our conversation, I had just read the part that I still like really enjoyed, which was the titular reference, the trading game, how he outwitted his peers at this university with game theory and how he adjusted his strategy as the tournament progressed to play against better players. I loved it. Like game theory, fascinating, adapting strategies, like. And then I completely agreed with you. Once we moved on from that, there was never really good explanations for what his secret sauce was for being a great trader. And he also is a very unlikable narrator, like awful to his girlfriend, awful to his mom, basically doing all of this stuff, literally says just for money, even though it was like eating him alive and destroying his life. And so he lost me eventually. But I guess what I will say is the hook was good. Like the hook got me. And then everything you pointed out definitely came more true.
His strategy I thought was pretty clear. What he did, I'm actually surprised he hasn't tried to have a movie made out of any of this. But what he did, he
has a massive YouTube following.
He does. I watched some of his YouTube videos because I just was curious. He does have the good London like street rapper accent, which I enjoyed. So his whole deal is he's the first person who realized, which is kind of why I think this is bullshit, is he was just like, poor people not having money to save is exploitable in the interest rate markets, which basically his thesis was rich people will buy a bunch of property when the economy is bad as a way to save their money and hedge against inflation, which is like, doesn't really seem that groundbreaking. I don't know enough about the equity markets to know how all of that would have worked, but that was his thing. That was his bit.
And I understood his macro thing. It was more to kind of like Laird's point. I was constantly going like, okay, even if I assume you're really smart, you're telling me you're the only person in like the finance space to have this thought. You're the only person contra trading like against what the consensus is doing. I just felt there had to be some other specialness to how he was maneuvering. And maybe it was too in the weeds to put in a book, but I was like, I wanted more for how he was pulling this off, and no one else was willing to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I just thinking about what Davis just said, explaining like the basics of his strategy. It kind of reminds me of like someone going like, Breyers just came out with this new ice cream flavor that everybody's going to want to eat, or sorry, eat their ice cream starting, and they're going to release it in July, and sales are going to go up. But it's like, all right, ice cream sales always go up in the summertime. So it's like, did he just have this prediction about like, because he started to trade kind of right around the great financial crisis. So if you like are betting or trading on housing prices going up during a period where there's like all these other factors why housing prices are going up, pretty much just like low interest rates, but like, could he have just been right for that reason? Like he explained a different reason, but the true reason was he was right for another reason. I don't know. There's some expression that describes that like type of critical thinking where you're like, you're right in the result, but you're wrong or partly wrong.
Your process was wrong, but you got the good, black swan result. Yeah. Yes. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
The reason I got hooked is the same reason I think this book even got bought by a publisher, because they said, I come from, a poverty background, not a lot of wealth. I rose up through the ranks of this prestigious university where everyone comes from money. And I thought differently. And I was able to do what all of these people try to do with far more resources. And the publisher said, that's a really good hook. That's a great book. And I said, yes, I agree. And then it all kind of falls apart. And you could tell he was almost like building the rest of it after the hook in a way that felt very unsatisfying.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I think he probably does good work. And I think like, I'm probably like roughly aligned with him on the political spectrum to some degree. But I'm just not gonna. I can't cape for a dude in the finance markets who like understands that there's a real power imbalance in the world, and all the rich have the and there's all this wealth hoarding, and then is at the same time he's like, yeah, Bitcoin's just this dumb speculative asset. I can't vibe with it.
Yeah.
We're still gonna get Laird. When I come down, I'm gonna bring you a Bitcoin wallet, Laird. You can choose to do whatever you want with it, but I'll let you can have it.
No,
I bought Bitcoin live. Remember, I bought Bitcoin live like a couple summers ago. I wonder what it's at now, because I think it was what's Bitcoin at now?
Like 63K, I want to say
something like that. Yeah,
I might be up a little bit now.
You should be up. It actually like dropped during the show, like $2,000. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
It's at 60K right now, and this morning it was at 63K.
Are you
adjust that for inflation? You got to.
Are you guys dripping in still like weekly?
I'm not.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I am.
Okay.
Trust the process, Pat.
Yeah, trust the long-term thesis. And then, do you have a rough idea of like the average, like the weighted cost of all your like what you bought in at?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely do the math. Like that's all in a CSV somewhere. I could find for sure.
If you had like just a guess, like where you bought in on average of all your shares, is it in like the 20,000s, the 10,000s, lower? You see what I'm saying?
Lower than 10,000 average price. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
IRS, if you're listening, you're not listening. It's 2 hours and 8 minutes into the program. No one's listening, probably. It's just Ko Kieft's mom listening at this point.
No, I've looked
Shout
at
out to
my
Linda.
metrics. Yeah, exactly. No, the IRS agents turn off around 45 minutes in to
That's
most
what I've heard.
podcasts. Laird, it was great catching up with you and getting to bring Ko on. I mean, what a fun treat.
What a
Thank you for doing that.
superstar. He might be the new superstar. We might have to have book club with Ko too.
I know. For the people just listening, I kicked Ko off the couch about 10 minutes ago or so because I was afraid that Peter and Davis wouldn't continue to do the podcast with me and they would just start to book Ko.
Well, he didn't read the book. He wasn't in the book club, so he
wasn't in the
yeah.
book club. He's
Yeah,
playing.
yeah.
I'm sitting watching him play video games now. This is how
Well,
we unwind.
let's find another book, and we don't have to, this one we're kind of on a timeline. I wanted to make sure we got our books out, but next time we have like a book we're all collectively really excited to read, let's publicize it and do another one of these.
Okay. Do you have a hard stop, or can I plug the book I just read?
No, please. I got just a couple more minutes, and then I'm on dad duty.
Okay, Harlem Shuffle, Colson Whitehead. You guys have probably heard of some of this stuff. Underground Railroad's probably his most.
Yeah,
famous.
I read Underground Railroad.
So it reminded me of what Davis was saying. Like the perfect beach read is like, all right, great writing, but great narrative, and that's kind of where I fall. Like, I've read some great, stream of consciousness books where nothing really happens, but the author writes some beautiful paragraphs. Like, and they win the Nobel Prize every year, Nobel Prize, Pulitzer Prize, whatever.
Pulitzer.
So like those, I read those books sometimes, but like I don't know. And Colson White has won those awards. His books always have amazing narrative. I love the Harlem Shuffle. I was surprised on Goodreads that like some people didn't like it and they loved the trading game, which makes me think that
you can't get too far down the Goodreads rabbit hole. I'm convinced people buy 5-star reviews because there's no way that the Harlem Shuffle shouldn't get better reviews than the trading game. But it's just, I love the narrative. I love the structure. Kind of happens like it's like 3 parts where it happens, I don't know, a couple years apart, and you kind of like learn about this dude in Harlem, kind of go through some crazy stuff. So like, it's just, I thought it was a really good book. I loved it and recommending it. So if anyone's looking for a good fiction book that's well written but fun to read, that's my recommendation.
I'll give just another Colson Whitehead, and I don't know if you've read this one, Davis, but his poker book, The Noble Hustle, he just documented like Hunter S. Thompson style playing in the World Series of Poker. But because he's such an incredible writer, like the way he talks about the scene there is just, it's like the best poker book I've read. That's like not a poker book, obviously. But you would enjoy that. Like his writing plus with a subject matter we love is very fun.
Cool.
All right.
Let's check that out too.
I like it.
I have ideas for new segments for our next show.
Yeah. Like
segments. Laird's doing bits.
Ko chugs a beer while in between deadlift sets.
Yeah, no, nothing physical. My thing was, because I've been thinking about this. I sit in a sauna a lot while I'm training, so I go to a public sauna back in California. And I just hear people talk, and I just start thinking of things that are just. And I've been watching the last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. My other recommendation for people to look at, but so it's called like my newest pet peeve.
Yeah. So
I think that's a good segment, and you got, I don't know, maybe next week you have like months to think about it, but we can do it maybe during the season. Just come up with a list of anything you're looking at. You go, that bothers me. That should be a Larry David skit. Just write it down, and we'll just list out my newest pet peeves.
Well, it's funny you say that, Laird, because as someone who also loves the sauna, and my biggest pet peeves involved a public sauna so much that I bought an at-home sauna. That's how much it peeved me. Did you know that, Laird? That I hated it so much? Yeah.
I didn't know that, but I want to hear yours, and hopefully you have time. But my newest pet peeve is people like 30-year-old dudes out of shape going in the sauna and breathing so hard, it's so like they act.
You know what? This is mine too.
They act like they're David Goggins running through the desert 100 miles, and I'm like, bro, you've been in here 12 minutes. I've been in here as long as you have.
They don't bring in a towel, and they're just dripping sweat everywhere.
And they're grimacing. Don't grimace.
Don't grimace. Don't grimace.
Just breathe.
You know what it is? It's an act because they're doing, what some people have dubbed the executive workout, where you go in, you do 5 minutes on the elliptical, and then you go sit in the sauna and you say, that's my hard thing. So they have to make it seem like they're exerting more effort than they are. And mine actually dovetails with that. I mean, there's a million things I've seen in a public sauna, guys eating cookies, like clipping their fingernails, all of that jazz. It's the guys who try to stretch where they're like, I want to make the most of being in here. And so they're butt ass naked doing all these elaborate stretches and stuff and I'm like, no. The sauna is not meant for that.
Yeah. 100% agree. That's my newest pet peeve. You're not David Goggins. You're a software salesman sitting in the sauna at 5:30 p.m.
Just chill.
It's okay. It is hard. It's hard to stay in there for 20 minutes.
Actually, it's very relaxing. It feels great. There's no reason to
once you build up your tolerance.
If you push it, it can get difficult, but it's not. You don't need a grimace, so no grimacing.
The only thing that ever gets me out of the sauna is when my phone overheats. That's literally the only thing.
Don't take your phone in the sauna, Davis. I know Laird agrees with me on that.
Yeah, talk to people.
Well, did you hear? Oh God, no! Don't pet peeve. Don't talk to me. Do not talk to me.
Read it out. Don't force someone into a conversation. But if there's some good conversations that take place in the sauna, don't force anyone into.
I've gotten recognized from TV in the sauna before, which is a slightly disconcerting experience. Didn't love it.
I would hate to get recognized in the sauna, but it's never happened.
Laird, we have Davis and I have a mutual friend, a guy in the fantasy sports space, very successful, lives a very charmed life out in Colorado. He posted a tweet a couple months ago that offended me so much, but he and his buddies, who are just degenerate gamblers, started rolling dice in the sauna. They would gamble on dice, and they put a letter up, at the front of the club. They made him sign a waiver, no more dice in the sauna. I'm like, yes, why are you guys playing dice in the sauna? Just sit in the sauna with your thoughts for 20 goddamn minutes.
It's 15 to 20. It's finished at 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The event is sitting in there. There doesn't have to be any extra. I've read it, a paper in the sauna, whatever. You can do that. But for 15 to 20 minutes, you don't need to do anything. You can sit there.
There you go. If you walk away with one thing today, just chill in the sauna. Davis, anything else? We are simulcasting this. If you're listening to this on the audio feed on the Takecast or on my YouTube channel, we appreciate that. Anything else from you, Davis?
No, nothing to plug. For anyone listening 2 hours and 16 minutes into the show is already as loyal of a friend as there is in the world.
Anything else for you to plug, Laird, like non-book stuff, any book club, any initiatives, anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, Cal Football Summer Reading Challenge is still going. So that's a good reminder to me. I need to post something again. Just, if you guys want to donate books to the book drive, support the guys still hosting it. It's a good way to support some reading in the Bay Area. Other than that, nothing else to plug. I do have more bit ideas. I'm going to start texting you guys, and we'll compete over who can come up with the best one.
Love it.
Okay.
I can't wait for that. And Davis and I, the schedule is going to be released on Thursday. And Davis and I, all of our friends in the best ball space, they care about these week 17 matchups. Davis and I are going to go circle that Tampa Bay Las Vegas matchup once that one is
please
on
do
the schedule there.
Correct. Yeah. We're going to get that figured out. All right, everyone.
We'll do one of those mobile podcast things where you guys come, we'll set up a camera and we'll sit around a couch.
Love it.
Yeah. Well,
try to act as natural as possible.
The three white 8-year-olds sitting on the couch meme. That'll be us. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening to this. Make sure to check out all the books recommended. Make sure you're following Patrick Laird and Ko Kieft on all available social media platforms, and we'll be back with you guys very soon.